And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FT off. Bring in FT off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at that. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Hello everybody and good evening. We are standing by for a crewed launch from pad 39A, which means of course we go live early for this wonderful Falcon 9 mission for the Axiom 4 mission here. My name is Adrian Weil. I'm your host for today's marathon coverage here as we will observe every single step that will lead up to this wonderful crew launch and the return of 3 spaceflight nations with new generations of astronauts. But I'm not doing this alone. I'm here with a wonderful cast of people, starting with Alex. Alex, how you doing?
Well, you know, it's Falcon and a new crew, so let's get them up to space. It seems like they're already there, or is my imagination?
Yeah, they're there. You can see them.
Look at that.
In the inside the tower. You can see these white silhouettes. These are indeed the Axiom 4 crew. With us today here in our crew is also in the field Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, how are you doing?
I mean, I am doing absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful night. 4 people are about to go to space on a brand new capsule. I mean, it can't be a bad night, right? As the crew gets ready to get on board.
Absolutely, I fully agree. Behind the scenes, we also have a full set of people. I think in the field, we have Max Evans and Julia Bergeron that are running additional cameras for today, who are not on commentary. And then behind the scenes, and I know I'm stalling here, so the tick in the top right is can pick up here. But we also have Carson, who is running behind the scenes. We have Jay Keegan behind the scenes, and we have Kevin Michael Reed. So yeah, full set of crew. I think Gage is also behind the scenes and running some cameras. So yeah, we are definitely in full force here for this crew launch. But yeah, let's talk about this mission. Alex, let's start here with what is Axiom 4? What is launching today? Where are they going? Let's give a quick overview what this mission is all about.
Yeah, so this is the 4th private mission by company Axiom on a Crew Dragon, launching on top of a Falcon 9, heading to the International Space Station. You may recall they've already done 3 of these missions, going to the ISS, 1, 2, and 3, Axiom 1, 2, and 3, and this is going to be the 4th. And so what this means is that there's going to be 4 more new people going to the ISS. Technically, 3 new people, because one of them has gone quite a few times to the ISS. But the other 3 are flying for the first time. And so today is probably going to be an exciting day for certain people in certain countries, I guess, because, for example, the pilot for this mission, Shubhanshu Shukla, is going to be the first Indian astronaut since, like, I think the 70s or 80s. And I think that the second one overall, it's going to be a mission of firsts in general, right? Of course, the most important thing that we're seeing right now in our screen is the rocket. So right now, they are loading the crew, as we were seeing before. They are getting prepared for strapping themselves onto the seats. And this rocket that you see there, it's rather new. That booster on that Falcon 9 is flying for a second time. This is booster B1094. roughly 57-day turnaround. When it launches, it's supposed to head out to the ISS. That means it's gonna be launching to the northeast out of the Cape, heading, targeting a 51.6-degree inclination orbit and trying to meet up with the International Space Station. That launch is currently scheduled for just tonight, June 25th at 2:31 and 52 a.m. Eastern Time. That will be 6:31 and 52 UTC. The crew will be arriving a few hours, essentially, the next day to the ISS, and they're going to be spending there roughly 1 to 2 weeks and conducting dozens of research experiments and science investigations and things like that. And hopefully they're going to be coming back to a splashdown off the coast of California. So hopefully we get to see all that here and cover that. Obviously not the entire mission, right, live, but at least the launch in 2 hours, 54 minutes, and 42 seconds from now.
And I'm already seeing questions coming in using @NASASpaceflight. If you have questions about today's mission, make sure to tag us in chat using exactly that @NASASpaceflight. And then we will get a handy panel here where we will address these questions over the next 3 hours. Sawyer, Alex has just hinted a bit about all the many firsts that this crew will do, and also all of the history that is behind these already space nations. Do you mind giving us a bit more in-depth overview of what this crew is?
Absolutely. So, like Alex was pointing out there, the last time that someone from Poland had flown in space was 1978, someone from Hungary was 1980, and someone from India was 1984. So, one of the slogans for this mission from Axiom is realize the return, as a way to symbolize all of these nations returning to space after such a long time. So, as you pointed out, Shubhanshu, the pilot, from India, was originally trained for India's space program. They have their own program they're working on to launch their own astronauts, the Gaganyaan human missions. Those haven't been ready yet, so we will see him on this flight. You have someone who was in charge, the head engineer at CERN, now representing Poland, also part of the ESA astronaut reserve class. And then from Hungary, Tibor has a degree in technology and economics and is part of their program for the country known as Hunor, which is Hungarian to orbit, which started back in 2023.
Absolutely. And then, of course, in contrast to that, we have Peggy Whitson. Sawyer, I think we should mention there's quite some heritage here.
Besides being the director of human spaceflight at Axiom prior to that, she was also the head of the astronaut office at one point at NASA, having 38 years with the NASA organization, and also is the current record holder for most time spent in space by an American, with 675 total days in orbit, going all the way back to Expedition 5. Performing 10 spacewalks, which is still the record for most spacewalks performed by a female. So, she's got a little bit of history under her belt.
Yep, absolutely. 675 days in space. I mean, that's a high number. That's
Yeah. She's going to be.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, she's now going to add another couple of weeks to that, right? So, and depending on the weather, sometimes these missions, they're like, shucks, the weather is bad outside, off the coast of the California or whatever. So they're like, well, we're spending another week here. My gosh,
she
right?
She just needs like 10 days of bad weather to get to 700 days or something, right?
Yep.
So there we go. That's gonna be interesting. Let's go into some questions here because there's quite a lot. Let's start with the Dragon capsule here, Alex. This is a brand new capsule, correct?
Indeed, it is the fifth and final Crew Dragon capsule that SpaceX has built. What they're going to be doing now is they have a fleet of 5 capsules, so they're just going to be reusing them multiple times. They are sort of certifying them to fly each one up to 15 times, which means, 5 times 15, you can do the math. That's a lot of missions that they can do, right? They don't need to create any more of these new Dragons. Of course, there's some things that they still need to create, namely the trunk, right? The trunks are always expendable, so those cannot be reused, and so they're still creating them and everything. There's other things as well on the Dragon that are somewhat expendable, like the heat shield and everything. Those are ablative, so they need to create one of those for every mission. But yeah, that's how it goes. And I know some people are gonna be asking about the name. We don't know about the name, unfortunately.
There's a good question here coming in with a $5 super chat from JD Brown. Sawyer, I'm throwing this to you. Is there a good reason why we are not naming Crew Dragon C213 until after the liftoff of the mission?
Mainly just because that's been the way they've done it for the last 4 capsules. It's kind of been a surprise. The crew that gets to fly on it first gets to basically see how it operates, gets to operate the controls, work on it, things like that, and then go up and name it. And it's also interesting what the names could have been, because this capsule was originally scheduled to launch Crew 10, although due to processing issues, they ended up swapping it out for Resilience, which was originally supposed to launch this one. So now it's a new crew getting to name it. So we'll see what impact that has on the name.
Absolutely. It's I mean, it's the last one, right? It's the last time that we will get a new Crew Dragon name. So it's gonna be interesting. Do you already have a prediction? I don't. I'm totally putting myself on the spot here, but I don't have a prediction yet. What they might use.
I mean, just for reference, by the way, for those who don't know, the other orbiters are orbiters. The other capsules are Endeavor, Endurance, Freedom, and Resilience. So if that's any indication of what they could name it, there's your reference point.
And orbit. So they're orbiters, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure the space shuttle purists will have something to say about that, just like as a bagel purist to say about Jack.
Oh, let's not bring in the cursed bagel opinions of NSF here.
No, we'll save that for Brain Trench on Friday.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. Okay, that's a funny one. Tomasz is asking, are you just gonna skip pronouncing Sławosz Uznański Wisniewski? There you go. That's my attempt.
I didn't have the pronunciation guide in front of me, which is why I skipped it. But yes, it's Sławosz Uznański Wisniewski.
Yeah, we tried.
We tried. We are trying. There will be. I will admit that it's quite a name. But you can tell me how good we are doing in terms of pronunciation. Alex, a question about the Dragon operations here. Why are they loading the crew so much earlier than the other crewed missions?
As far as I know, this is sort of the time when they actually drive up to the rocket and everything. Like for example, a NASA mission, right? So I guess we should probably go a little bit in the small differences that there are between NASA missions, private missions. NASA missions, they have the operations and checkout building at the KSC area, right? Much further south and west of the launch pad. And they get suited up there. They do the handover, between NASA and SpaceX and everything. They do all of these briefings and making sure that everything is correct. And roughly 3 hours and 10 minutes or so, that's when they drive up to the pad and they start getting loaded onto the rocket. So we are right now around the point where, on a NASA on a NASA commercial crew mission, you will still see the crew sort of loaded around this time into the capsule. Now, for private missions, instead, what they do is they go to the Falcon support building outside of 39A. So instead of going, to, again, the ONC building at KSC or anything, that's a NASA facility. SpaceX has its own facility outside of 39A where they do that, suit up, and hand over and everything between Axiom and the SpaceX teams. They do all of those final checkouts and everything, and that's when they go to the pad. Roughly around the same time we saw them as we were starting our live stream, around 3 hours before the launch, that they were already at the crew access arm, getting ready to board the Crew Dragon. I don't think it's really that much different. Once they are in Crew Dragon, it's also very much the same. There's no really any difference from that point onwards. As I said, it's just like a little difference there prior to the loading. They get suited up in different locations, so to speak.
There we go. Yeah, it's we will see what else we see here in terms of the operations of loading this capsule. But again, just for the people who are not aware how the SpaceX Dragon countdown works, they will load the astronauts onto the capsule. They will lock the capsule, get away from the rocket, and then they will start to fuel. So the fueling will happen while the astronauts are on board of Dragon, which will start in about 1 hour. Well, actually, in about 2 hours. That's roughly when we'll see fueling. So yeah, it's gonna be a ride until then, and we will hopefully also at some point get we can still see them. I think we can still see them in the here on the views while they going to grab capsule. But yeah, there will be more. Let me see here. That's actually an interesting question. Sawyer, since these astronauts will be in orbit and on the ISS during July 4th, can you actually see big fireworks from space?
I'm not sure if you can actually see fireworks from space. I haven't asked any of the astronauts I've met. I doubt it, unless they're really huge and dramatic. You might be able to see the smoke clouds from it if there's enough of them, but I don't think you'd be able to see specific fireworks from orbit. Although, I mean, hopefully a sort of Roman candle, quote unquote, of Falcon 9 launching will count.
Absolutely, it's certainly a long burning candle.
Yes.
Let's see here. We didn't super deeply talk about these delays yet, Alex. There were some link issues both on both vehicles. Let's also talk about the road here. Why is this mission on such a bumpy path before this launch day?
Oh dear. Yeah, there's been a couple of things. So earlier on, they had an issue, sort of, when they did the static fire of the rocket and everything. They saw a leak on the booster. There was also one of the gimbal. So there are all of the engines gimbal, right? One of them, engine 5, had a weird gimbaling as well there. So they looked at it. They had to delay the mission. They had to move the mission a few days to the right. And as that was happening, meanwhile on the ISS, they were looking at some of the repairs. So bit of background there. They have had a small air leak on one of the modules for a long time, right, since 2019. But they were trying to repair that, multiple times. And this last time, it seemed like it worked. But there were conflicting information on, on the data that they were getting from the ISS, and so they wanted to take more time to study that. So that's why they're being extending this mission even after the rocket was repaired and everything, and they've checked out. They did a wet dress rehearsal, loading the rocket with propellants and making sure that nothing leaked and everything, right? That all of the issues were already solved. But again, the ISS had that repair done to it and trying to solve that leak that's been ongoing for many years now. And it seemed like it worked. And so they were looking at whether that was the case or not. And so I don't know what's the result out of that. But it seems like NASA, either it's still leaking, but NASA is like, okay, well, yeah, let's launch this, let's let these people go to the ISS. Or it's now completely fully solved, and they verified that indeed it is solved. Like, it is either one or the other, I guess, right? But we don't know what is the actual outcome, because they haven't said, or at least I haven't seen it. I don't know, Sawyer, if you've seen any of that or something, or if they've told you out there. I have no idea. But
Yeah, no, other than just that they had done the repairs following that initial leak that they saw on the initial launch date. And then ISS decided to ISS.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this time it was not Nauka. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, for once. That's my first comment. One thing I mentioned earlier is that we really have quite a lot of production going on for this launch because, well, it's a crew launch. We want to give it the proper attention it deserves. And if you're curious how all of that works, you know that sometimes we have a members multi-view where you can see all the cameras that Kevin, Carson, and Jay look. You can see all the switching they do, all the preparation they do in terms of assets. You can see them there selecting cameras. There you can see it. That members multi-view is available for all members levels. So if you're a member of NASASpaceflight, you can go to your member section on your channel and you can look at this. You can also, before the stream started, you could hear us talking about pronunciation of astronauts and do horrible attempts at it. So that's an extra bonus for this mission. So yeah, that is available for your member perks here. And if you like that, go check that out in the member section. Next up, Sawyer, let's talk a bit about the weather, because we love to talk about the weather here. Do you mind giving us, as our current resident Cape weather expert here, a quick overview? How's the weather?
I may not have a weather wall like Ryan Fiber-Caton, but what I do have here is the forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron. We have a 90% chance of favorable weather for tonight's launch. Where I am currently, the sky is completely clear. There's not a single cloud. You could see all of the stars in the sky, but there the 10% chance of weather violating constraints. And the other major difference from the initial launch attempt prior to the leak being discovered was concerns about the ascent corridor recovery weather. Basically, if in the event they needed to abort and the capsule had to separate away and splash down in an emergency, are the seas calm enough to be able to facilitate that? You can see there that is low. So there is not as much concern for that. Same with upper level winds, same with solar activity, and same with weather related to the booster landing back at LZ1.
Absolutely. There we go. So, I fear to say the sentence, but actually
Yeah.
everything looks good.
Which is amazing for
I
Florida in the summer.
Absolutely. But to be fair, it's Florida in the summer, so it could change in 2.5 hours.
It could change in 5 minutes.
It's also
Yep.
the middle of the night, right? It's usually
Yeah.
the afternoon when it's more volatile, I guess.
That is true. The random storms that pop up tend to pop up more in the early to mid afternoon. Overnight hours are usually, as they are now, pretty calm, pretty pleasant. It's a little bit humid, not as bad as it was the other day for Atlas, but it's Florida. You're going to have that humidity, and of course, there's always the concern of potential random pop up showers. Hence, why they still had flight through precipitation listed as a possible violation concern.
Yeah, there you can see the rain radar, and it looks surprisingly calm. That's a good way to how I wanted to see it. So yeah, everything looking good there. We'll of course monitor it. We'll monitor the situation, as I might say, and then we will get more information throughout the window. But the preparation. There's no window. But we'll see how everything develops here over time, but so far looking good. Sawyer, I'm gonna come back to you here for another question here, because you have met a very very soft fifth guest on this Dragon capsule, right? Or let's say a version of it.
Yes, I've met the ground-based companion to this flight's zero-G indicator. So if you're unaware, it's a thing that they've done for a while on Soyuz, but since 2020, all of the Dragon capsules have done it as well, where once they get into orbit, they have something inside the capsule that will start floating once they enter zero-G. So they call it the zero-G indicator. And this particular one is a swan that goes by the name of Joy. So there was one on board the capsule. They also had one here at the press site that I got to take a picture of and say hi to, and it is absolutely adorable. In case you're wondering the significance behind the baby swan that is flying on board of this, it is meant to embody a bunch of the different shared commonalities between the different agencies and countries that are on board this one. As they say, Joy represents cultural unity as three nations realize the return to human spaceflight together as one crew. All of them with symbolizing wisdom, purity, resilience throughout all of their different cultures.
I've been paying very close attention to what you just said because I think there's a hint that they gave that this the zero-G indicator also is related to the potential name of the capsule, correct?
That's what we've heard. I mean, again, a lot of the things are grace, elegance, purity, loyalty, joy. So I
think
guess there's
grace would be
actual
cool.
potential names. Yeah, goes with resilience.
Oh god, the stretching on the zero-G indicator made it look very fat there.
It's
Or
no,
swan.
it's not. Yeah, no, that was again, that was just hanging out on a desk. You could see the size comparison that was there to the sign. You could see the size comparison in that photo as well. It's not big, but boy, is it cute.
Yeah, it's very, very cute. Sorry, I'm still laughing about the stretched image of the swan. That killed me.
Yeah,
Do you think
yeah,
they'll
that
call it Cygnus?
joy.
Do you think they'll
No,
call
there's
it
already a
Cygnus?
Cygnus.
Oh,
No, but it will
God.
be funny, you know, Crew Dragon Cygnus, because why not? Get more confusing.
It's just called cute. They will just call the capsule cute.
I mean, it's a cute dragon.
Yeah, it's like a very cute dragon. They will give it like cool stripes and everything. I will love it. Anyway, let's go to some support here as we are getting support here in the very late hours of the day. Thank you so much for all the support that has been coming in because as you all know, the ability of us doing all of this here and all of this production for Crew Launch is totally depending on you all supporting us. So thank you so much for William Foss for becoming a Red Team member. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the members multi-view. We have Hop Hayes here with the super chat saying, "Need new intro with the updated ship 36 explosion." She is from India. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we will get an updated intro at some point, but I think the ship 36 explosion has a good chance to make the Yikes You Bet Concours part. Astro Knucklehead with the super chat saying, "New capsule name is Squirrel." No. That's all I'm gonna say. No. I heavily veto. I will make it just the German name. Constantly, if it's that the name. Santos here with super chat saying, "Good grief." That's a long. I will not make rocket sounds here. Thank you so much for the support. And then we have XO. Oh my god. XO Abiano XO with super chat saying, "What's the visibility along the east coast of the US for this launch? I've seen maps for that before, but I'm not sure where to find them." Alex, let's quickly talk about the trajectory of this mission. Where is it going north? Is it going south? Where is it going?
Yeah, so it's going to the ISS, which means it's going to the northeast. It's going to be targeting that 51.6 degree inclination orbit that the ISS is sort of around the Earth, right? And so there you can see some of those hazard zones, both aerial and marine hazard zones for the launch. The first stage will essentially push the second stage and Dragon sort of close to space and also like a fifth of the way to orbital velocity. The first stage will be coming back to landing at landing zone 1. Meanwhile, the second stage will head into a low Earth orbit, putting that Dragon, it's usually around 200 kilometer altitude orbit and thereabouts. And so, yeah, that's going to be pretty much that trajectory out to the northeast. It's going to be sort of parallel to the United States East Coast. After deployment, after the Dragon separates, then that second stage will be performing a sort of disposal burn and re-entry over the Pacific Ocean. There you can see to the east of New Zealand. So hopefully that happens, because sometimes those things do not happen, and that's not a good thing when a second stage is stranded up there in space. But you know, they haven't had that unlucky times, I guess, for a long while. Is that? Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's the infographic for today's Flight profile. There you can see. Go.
Kevin is surprisingly awake this morning. Well, the evening for him, morning for us both. But yeah, that was a cube zoom, I think. That's the mission profile. Besides that, in terms of visibility, Upper Florida, and then oh god, I'm blanking on the state above Florida.
Georgia, South
Thank you.
Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, all of those places.
Potentially going as far north as to
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, up that coast, because you will likely see the engine burning all the way up towards Maine and Canada in that area. So it's one of those where if you're anywhere along the Northeast, especially with it being at night, and especially with it being so clear and with a new moon, you should have a pretty good view of it. Again, just keep in mind you will see it much later in the mission, depending
Yeah.
on the farther northeast you are.
And there's another thing as well. So, for those in Europe, it's gonna be a bit of a shame because if it had launched a little bit earlier, so like if it had launched around this time right now, then by the time it reaches orbit, then it will have gone over Europe, sort of when it is still dark on the ground, but it's still it's getting sunlight in orbit, right? Because it's at altitude.
Wait.
So people in Europe will be able to see that, but unfortunately, because it is in 2.5 hours, it's already going to be way too clear outside, with the sun and everything. So, unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. You may try though. I will try.
I have questions. Is it really still dark for you, Alex?
Well, I mean, it is dark. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's 6 a.m. here. It's dark.
Oh yeah, because I will.
When I
just
mean
say
dark,
when
I don't
you
mean like pure nighttime. Like if it's twilight, it's still dark enough to see these things.
Yeah. Let's just say while we are in the same time zone, we have very different perception right now of the time of day and the conditions outside. Because there's certainly not any darkness here anymore. It's just full on bright. So yeah, that's the quick overview of where you will be able to see this capsule. Hopefully in 2.5 hours from now. Again, if you have questions about this mission, make sure to tag at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we will get to them. Let's see here. This is an interesting one, Sawyer. With this being the last Dragon produced, what's next? Humans' flight on Starship still seem a good way off.
I mean, you're not wrong. It probably is still a good ways off at this point with everything that's been going on with the program, but they still have 5 capsules. That's not anything to bat an eye at. There's still quite a few of them. All of them are still in operation right now. Right now, also, they have crew missions scheduled through 2029, to the ISS. There are all of the other private stations that are coming online. For example, VAST's space station is reliant upon Dragon and part of its life support systems working with it as well. We'll see what happens with some of the other, like Axiom Station. There's plenty that will still need Dragon capsules. So 5, given the rate at which they currently fly, which is usually about 3 to 4 a year, 5 is plenty.
There we go. So yeah, there's quite some fleet there, and they will be able to use that fleet for many years to come. So that is the plan. And after this, no more dragons that will be produced. So that's also a weird part of this mission, because it will be interesting to see that they completely stop producing their dragons after this. Let's throw this to Alex here. Mike is wondering, how much control does the pilot of the Dragon capsule actually have? Can they take over and fly manually if they have to?
Well, definitely not the flight of Falcon 9, that I can tell you. That will be, I mean, for Falcon 9, it will be a bit overkill. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that they can do on Dragon, right? It's fully autonomous, but they can still take over control for doing, orbital maneuvering and things like that. They can still command the thrusters. They can command pretty much all of the engines. Even during flight, they still have a handle for an manual abort situation. Like if for whatever reason They are in a dire situation or something. Obviously, nobody wants that to happen, but they have that option in case they want to escape without needing to wait for the autonomous escape system, essentially, because it's also autonomous, but they have that manual option even if they wanted to. So yeah, they have up to even that point of control. It's not the usual joystick control that you see or that you might have seen in the shuttle, for example, at the time, or earlier capsules and things like that. It's a much different control system. Yeah, it's just touch screens and whatnot. But they also have manual buttons, like things like firing the pyrotechnics for the parachutes, for example, for jettisoning the trunk. All of those things, they have manual buttons to push, because they are very critical set of things that you wouldn't rely on a touchscreen for certain critical events like that.
Absolutely. My biggest disappointment when I got into spaceflight was the realization that it's indeed not like Star Wars, where thrusters are continuously firing, and it's indeed just steering adjustments in orbit. But that's me.
Although you
That
kind of
was-
get something similar with docking, at which point you have the thrusters firing quite rapidly to keep
That's
the
true.
alignment.
But it's not like what the Star Wars fantasy of continuous engines powering along. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and it's worth noting that. No, I was gonna say
Right.
Dragon does have some physical switches on it. As much of it is touchscreen, I believe there's 30 physical switches ish
Yeah.
in the capsule. I'm trying to remember the exact number.
Yeah, so something around that. Like they have even an option to jettison the nose cone if it doesn't close, for example, before reentry. They can do that. They can jettison the trunk. They can deploy the parachutes, the drogues, and the main parachutes manually for whatever reason. The automatic way. The computers, they're like, oh my gosh, we are glitched, right? And so they're like, okay, here's the manual button, right? Like they also, again, as I said, they have this handle they can turn and pull out and everything to do the manual abort during flight. The critical things, of course, those have that kind of I guess maneuvering is not the right term, but you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. I believe we also have some pictures that Max Evans recorded a few days ago of our today's astronauts that we are here to can also showcase here. Starting
Actually-
here. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. It was a few hours ago. This was at about
Oh.
9:55 tonight. There was a handoff. So in the press site parking lot area where we are, there was a van that drove up, which contained the 4 crew members. They did a handoff ceremony, and while they arrived in a large white van, they left in the SpaceX Teslas as they were handed over. Sorry, I'll let you go back to talking about the crew.
No, absolutely. And here we have, of course, Ax-4 mission commander Peggy Whitson there with the Axiom patch. I think quite a nice patch, by the way. And here we have Ax-4 mission pilot Shubhanshu Shukla. Very happy. Looks very happy today. I believe we have here mission specialist Sławosz Uznański of also, they're very cheerful. They're all very cheerful. And here we have mission specialist Tibor Kapu. So they all very excited, it seems, to go to space. All very smiley people. So to be fair, I would also be happy when I go to space. Probably. So yeah, we'll get to the crew profiles in a bit, and we'll talk about all their history, because as always, you can imagine this crew has quite some history in terms of experience in all kinds of science fields. So spoiler there, very qualified. Let's get another question here. Alex from 98 Central. Will this mission launch right at 2:31 a.m. or are there a few seconds into the minute?
Yeah, so it is 2:31:52 a.m. at least last we heard. They can always shift that launch time by like a second or two with the latest data, because sometimes because of drag from the atmosphere on the ISS and everything, like the orbit changes just slightly, and so they tweak a little bit that launch time, but it's not going to move that much out of 2:31:52 a.m. Eastern. That will be 6:31:52 UTC. But yeah, it's one of those things that it rarely changes that much.
Absolutely. So minor adjustment, and once again a reminder: this is since this is launching to the International Space Station, this is very much an instantaneous window. So they cannot adjust more than a second or two. After that, it's just out of the window, and they cannot launch today. So that time in the top left is very much accurate for today. So let's see here. Sawyer, John is wondering, is this the same booster from the first attempt, or did they take it apart and restack on a new booster?
This is the exact same booster. This is still 1094-2. They were able to actually do the fix out on the pad, unlike Atlas, which they had their issue and they had to roll it back to the vertical integration facility. This one did not have to go back to the horizontal integration facility, or HIF, that SpaceX has. They were able to work on it on the pad, and this thing has been vertical since that first launch attempt, so it's been out there for quite a while.
And Alex, is the plan still to potentially fly Crew 11 on this after this?
Yeah, it'll fly on the same booster. Whether it'll be around the time that they originally said, though, I'm not so sure. That's one of the things that it's sort of up in the air, where because this mission has delayed already, what, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so. So yeah, maybe it's not going to be in July, perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised if it moves into August. Now, it's not a big deal though, because staying a little bit longer on the ISS, as you may have seen recently, it's not that much of a big deal. Pretty much every astronaut, even Peggy Whitson, the commander of this mission, has stayed on the ISS for a lot longer than she was supposed to be originally, and she was fine. That's in fact how she got to be the most experienced American astronaut, essentially, right, in space. But yeah, they'll just stay for a few more weeks on the ISS with the Crew 10 mission, and then the Crew 11 mission. Again, I think it's probably going to be around August when they're going to be launching, and that same booster will be the one launching that mission. Not the same capsule though, because it will be quite a fast turnaround if that were to happen, but it's going to be a different capsule. I think it is Endeavour, the one supposed to launch on that one.
As soon as bad weather delays a return, just make sure to call it stranded. I learned that's the correct term. Sawyer, do you mind a question about orbital mechanics?
I'll try.
Kurt is wondering, why does Dragon take longer to get to the ISS than Soyuz?
Oh boy.
Oh boy, that's a very good question. Well, when Soyuz does that, they have to launch in a very, very narrow window, like extremely narrow. Those opportunities to get the 6-hour rendezvous don't happen that often. So, and usually, if Soyuz which is rare, if it does delay a day, then they have to go to the longer rendezvous. Something like this, by still taking the 24 or 30 hours to get there, yeah, it takes longer, but you have more launch opportunities that you can use. So in this case, they'd rather have more opportunities rather than aim for an exact point. This one day where it goes or it doesn't, to make a shorter rendezvous. And Alex, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, with Crew Dragon, that's exactly what happens, right? The weather in Florida, for example, can delay things, and you might discover suddenly there's a little leak of liquid oxygen on your tanks, right, or your engine bay, and things like that. So those sort of things is one of the reasons why they don't commit to a fast rendezvous time, precisely because of that. Because those opportunities to have a fast rendezvous, they are really rare. So if you want to do those, you have to commit to that launch day. Otherwise, the next day, it might as well just be like 30 hours, right? To get to the station. Now, of course, one of the things that they do is they try, so like, each day has a different time from launch to docking, right? Because of orbital mechanics. And so what they try is to avoid those days where it's like maybe close to 48 hours or something. They don't want to have the crew spending like 2 days on Dragon or something like that. It's more spacious than Soyuz, but it's not that much, right? So you still don't want them to be there without docking to the ISS for too long. Or when it is too short, that Dragon essentially like it's gonna be arriving in front of the station or something like that, right? Like you cut off the extremes to those options, and then you get things like 8 hours to the ISS or 10 hours to the ISS. There's usually an in between there where it's like if it's 20 hours or if it's 15 or 16, they also don't target those because they prefer to let the crew rest, because otherwise, it means that today, as you were mentioning, they were handed over from Axiom to SpaceX at T-minus 5 hours or so, right? Like a while before the launch. That means they were woken up very earlier than that. So if they have a 16-hour from launch to docking timeline, then that will be a long time being awake, right? And so they normally try to avoid, again, the extremes and then the in-between, where it's like, too long to maybe stay awake, but too short to, those sort of in-between sort of things. And so sometimes we've seen timelines where it's like 10 hours, but this time around it's going to be closer to like 30 hours. It's going to be a day and a half or so. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you so much for that. And yes, indeed, I fully understand to not make your crew be awake for like 24 plus hours. That doesn't sound that healthy.
Max and I have been doing that the last couple days here. It's not healthy.
But you're not going to
Please
the
rest.
ISS, though.
No, we're just
Are you
going to do videos of rockets.
It's a Starlink in 12 hours, by the way.
Oh, we are well aware here.
I am as well. Sawyer, do you mind giving us a quick overview? We've now 2 hours and 13 minutes to launch. What is the crew doing right now? I know we don't have an exact timeline, but what's the rough step they are in for right now?
So when we first went on the air, which was about 45 minutes ago, we saw them just starting to get onto the crew access arm. They do their final phone calls, which is historic that they do at the pad. We then saw them walk down the crew access arm, very likely that they then signed the wall inside the White Room on the SpaceX logo as opposed to the NASA logo, since this is a private mission and not a NASA mission. They then are placed inside their seats. They are strapped in, and then once they are in the correct seats and everything is good, they will rotate the seats backwards. They are set in a special position to make it easier for the crew to get in. And then once they're in, they will rotate it so it's easier for them to see their screens, take a look at all their checklists, access everything like that. Meanwhile, the crews that are working on the arm there are going to check all of their final checks on board, make sure that as they get ready to close everything, there is no FOD, foreign object debris, that could cause issues when they close the hatch. They will be taking pictures all around the hatch, the seal, everything to make sure that when they close it, there is not even a single human hair that can cause an issue with it closing. I say that because that has actually happened before.
I love that drop of the thumb fact at the end.
Yeah, it's true. There was one that they weren't sure that they were getting an exactly perfect seal. And that's also why, even though, it's still 2 hours and 12 minutes till launch, they're already working on this. Because in the event that something comes up when they're getting the crew loaded, when they're closing it out, when they're testing all the systems, it gives them sort of a built in cushion to do it. And there was one point where they were trying to figure out why it wasn't fully closing. And apparently there was human hair that was not allowing for a perfect seal.
That shows you the margins of this. Like, it's one hair, and it's literally detectable for them.
That'd be so
That's why we
horrible
see
of
the
that,
cat
though.
ninjas,
Yeah.
right? That's why we see them out there with the full coverings of their head and their bodies and all of that with the suits. That is for that exact reason, because FOD includes stuff coming off your body.
Yep, absolutely. And there we see the press side countdown clock still counting down to a launch in 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 20 seconds. So everything looking good so far. I hate when I say that because it feels like I'm jinxing, and people will clip that when something is not going well on the countdown and they have to abort. And it's like, oh, Adrian said it. Like, no, I'm just reporting.
Just don't say the S word.
I won't go down this rabbit hole, but I really think there's no way me saying the S word has any implications on this mission launching or not.
I don't want you to jinx it, and I don't want to find out. So let's just not.
I'm not saying it. There we go. Alex, do we expect the new SpaceX EVA suit that was tested on Polaris Dawn to be used on anything in the future ISS spacewalks, perhaps?
I wouldn't say at least in the near future. I'm mostly sure that at some point maybe SpaceX will try to evolve that. It's worth reminding that that EVA suit is very much like minimal viable product. That's what SpaceX always tries to do, right? And it doesn't mean that it was unsafe or anything like that, right? I'm not talking about any of that stuff, but like minimal viable product that people can still use and still be safe, right? And by that I mean, it still had connections through an umbilical. Normally, a proper EVA suit, you will want, some kind of backpack or something like that, right? Being independent from your spacecraft, those sorts of things. I would imagine that perhaps in the future, maybe SpaceX will try to evolve that and have some private missions, maybe another Polaris Dawn mission, or whatever it's called, like Polaris Twilight or something. I don't know, Polaris Noon. But yeah, those sorts of things I can see that in the future. I mean, yeah, why not? It's dawn, noon, afternoon, Polaris. Let's take a nap in the evening. I don't know.
So yes, siesta, Polaris siesta.
Polaris siesta. I mean, there's a lot of studies that they can do about sleeping in space, but you know what I mean, right? I don't see it though. Maybe used on ISS spacewalks unless that's the whole purpose of the mission. Like they say to NASA, hey, we want to use your airlock. Can we test our EVA suit, please? Like I can maybe see perhaps small chance of that happening, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
There we go. I like the. I mean, Polaris Dawn had such a cinematic, and then the next one being Polaris Noon would be amazing. It's like, well, it's noon, I guess. So yeah, let me thank some more people here. Starting with Dave's Corner of the World, becoming a Red Team member. Again, we have a members multi-view running. If you would fancy seeing all the cameras rotating through, make sure to go to that members multi-view in your member area on the channel. No, Jay. Jay has super chatted for an Adrian singing fund, and I will absolutely deny this. No.
There's already a goal.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
No. Oh my god. No. Why?
The goal says Adrian will sing.
I will not. Why was I not told
the way
about
there?
it? Oh,
Well, what if you do? What if you do?
I will not. Turtle Sanctuary with a $10 super chat. What's with this transition today? Saying scroll. Thank you. I totally like that all of these super chats are not here to torture me. Thank you so much for that. Turtle Sanctuary also with another super chat. Thank you so much for that. Saw a whooping crane and formerly Boca Chica today. Hope everything was okay. From our knowledge, at least it didn't look like there was a huge ambulance presence, but we could not confirm that yet. And if we get more information, we'll of course report that. But yes, there was a crane tipping over at Massey's earlier today, or late yesterday. So yeah. But no further information on that. Novus Tippy with a $5 super chat. Note attached to that. Thanks for that. That's the most kind super chat I have read so far. Moldy Space Industries with a $2 super chat saying Adrian Singing Fund and vote for the Prinzen. No! Just no! Well, can I also see terrible suggestions in the chat about what I should sing. I will not sing Helene Fischer. Absolutely not. Moldy Space Industries with another super chat saying Major Tom in German is also acceptable for Adrian's song. No! Okay, are we done? Do we have this out of our system now? I will not sing, please. So let's move on to this mission again and away from singing. Let's see here. Sawyer, what about the ISS leaks that they talked about earlier? Did these get fixed?
I mean, they haven't been fixed for 5 years. Let me just start off by saying that the leaks have been ongoing for at least 5 years right now. They have been manageable to this point. The concern became once they noticed a leak, which what it seems like was from a hatch that closes off the area where the leak is. So it must be at a point though where they understand it well enough and they have managed the leak well enough that they are going to proceed at least with this launch. Because one of the concerns, obviously, when you have a leak, adding 4 more people to your space station, that is more people that are going to be using up the air. That is more people that are going to be using up the life support system. Kind of important things. So they wouldn't send 4 more crew up there to make it 11 people in space at one time on the space station if they didn't believe they had an understanding of it.
There we go. Thank you so much. And yes, the ISS is let's say in its it has some years already in operations. So some leaks are actually inside of the tolerance. It's just a matter of understanding the leaks and controlling the leaks, right? So it's like a matter of making sure the leaks are not getting worse, for example.
Either not getting worse or you understand the rate at which they are going and they can figure out, is it safe to add more people? How much air are we losing? How much do we have? How well are all of our CO2 scrubbers working? All of our water reclaimers, things like that. So obviously it seems to be working well enough that it's not a concern.
There we go. Thank you for that. Roseanne is wondering, Alex, is this an RTLS? A return to launch site mission?
It is. So anybody in the area, expect sonic booms.
Yep, this is indeed. We will see another RTLS, which is another bonus on this mission. So yeah, it's gonna be.
It used to be that crew mission and RTLS together was a very bad thing, right? This time around, it is not. That's a good
But
thing with
Alex,
Crew Dragon.
I have
Yeah.
a question for you. This may be one of the last RTLS missions that we see for
Ooh.
some time, huh? Isn't there a problem with the LZ1's lease ending like within full days?
Technically, yeah. So, for those that may not be aware, the landing zone 1 and 2 area that's being always, formerly Launch Complex 13 back in the day, and it's gonna be turning back again into a launch site. It's gonna be handed over to Viaspace and Phantom Space, 2 launch companies. Now, that also means that SpaceX has not renewed, or I guess the Space Launch Shelter 45 has not renewed the lease to SpaceX, and so that lease is supposed to expire around July of this year. We don't know when in July, like maybe July 1st, right, or July 31st. We don't know, right? So that means any RTLS after that will have to not RTLS, I guess, like any mission planning an RTLS will not be able to do that. They have a contingency, which is they're going to be making landing pads at Slick 40 at Space Launch Complex 40 and also at Launch Complex 39A to the north of Launch Complex 39A and to the northeast of Space Launch Complex 40. So each launch pad from where Falcon 9 launches from, it's going to have its own landing pad. So whenever they do an RTLS, a return to launch site, it's actually going to be a return to launch site because it's going to be returning back to the same launch site. It's just not, I guess, to the same launch mount, right? As it's not going to be Starship style, but at least close, right? So yeah, until they build those, I don't know what they're going to be doing. Do you think maybe the US Space Force will be like, you know what, you can still land your things while we wait for your landing zones to be built? Like, do you think that will happen?
I mean, I have a hard time seeing SpaceX being denied a request like that because,
right?
I mean, the Space Force kind of has a good standing together with SpaceX, and they also sometimes depend on these capabilities. I think there will be found a solution.
And it's
Oh,
not like
we have seen
Ooh.
in the past though, right? Where sorry, what?
We are seeing Astros inside the capsule, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it's we progress. Sorry, go ahead, Sawyer.
No, I was going to say in the past we have seen missions. I believe it was after CRS-16 where they have placed the drone ships like immediately offshore within a couple of miles. So that could be an additional option in the meantime. That way
Yeah.
you're still not taking your drone ship out of commission for a crazy long time, because then it's a very short ride back just to the port when you're already just offshore from the port.
It's still one of those things that I'm guessing SpaceX will try to avoid, because, for example, today, in 12 hours or so, they're going to be launching a Starlink. And so on missions like today, both drone ships will be held up. Whereas, for example, the previous mission, the previous Starlink, the drone ship is still returning back to port. Like, it's still, like, right now, they wouldn't be able to do that if that were the case today, right? So I don't know, like, it's not like Launch Complex 13 is going to be needed for that long. Like, Via Space and Phantom Space, I don't think they have a rocket to launch yet from there, so probably going to be a while until that happens, in fact.
Absolutely. Maybe they will just debut the CRS-16 tested SpaceX water landing capacity.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll use that instead of RTLS.
Yeah,
I mean,
minus
was
the
a good.
thruster.
Yeah, I mean, you always find something to complain, right? Who needs who needs thrusters? Oh, this is an interesting one. Alex Severin here is asking, when a Dragon should a Dragon use its launch escape system, why does it take the trunk along with it? I thought less mass equals less speed equals less safety.
It's for aerodynamics. The shape of the capsule is meant to be used when it is sort of in the opposite direction, right? It's meant to be stable when the airflow is coming from the bottom instead of from the top. So if you just launch up without the trunk attached to it, what you will have is the capsule will immediately flip over 180 degrees and try to essentially face the airflow with the heat shield instead. Whereas the trunk, it has that extension, and it also has fins that sort of help aerodynamically. So when it escapes, either on the pad or during flight, it carries that precisely for aerodynamics. It's a lot more stable that way.
There we go. And we are now, by the way, officially, we are now for 3 minutes officially, with a 1 hour counter in front of the ticking T- clock, with just less than 2 hours now going before the launch of Axiom 4. So we are progressing well. We know the crew is inside of the capsule, and they are probably performing all kinds of checks at this point. And once that has all concluded, we will then see the pad crews depart the general area and get the rocket ready to fueling in just about 1 hour and 15 minutes from now. So, yeah. Let me thank some more people, starting with the Cosmic Nebula, with Super Chat saying, if Jack did it, Adrian has to, NSF banned when? Nope. I want to once again point out that the goal that is on top of the channel is absolute fake news. I will not sing. Ignore that goal. That's all I'm saying. A Flying Diver here with Super Chat saying, sing Rocket Man by Elton John would be fitting. PS, love y'all's broadcast and y'all's hoodies. Thank you so much for the second part of this message. Justin Wayne with Super Chat saying, Adrian singing to Jack in a kilt in the shore of Wyoming. Name your price. I don't want to. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Let's see here that we get some more questions. If you have some questions, at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we will get to these questions in a bit. Let's see here. That's a good one. Alex, Fighting Falcon, he is wondering, do they use a specific strong bag for Dragon, or do they just modify it?
They do modify it. Oh,
No,
you
sorry, I
want to
wasn't sure if
answer
you
that
were
one?
still listening to something at that point, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I can answer this one, which is essentially, yeah, they change out the top of the stromback for Dragon missions. You can see it's a little bit different when they launch with a payload fairing. It has this sort of yellow strap thing, right, that they use to sort of hold together that fairing. Not only hold it together, but like, when you're trying to lift up the rocket and sort of that fairing sort of hanging out from the side, it helps having those straps there. But yeah, I was listening to some of the official updates. I can relay some of these. So for example, the weather is looking excellent right now, both at the launch site and also downrange abort areas. This is a crew mission, which means there's also the whole thing about the weather downrange for the crew splashdown areas. And so right now it's 90% favorable weather at the launch site and 95% favorable weather downrange. So that means it's near excellent, right? It's pretty much as perfect as you can expect. Then also the rocket and pad are looking good. They have gone through all of the checkouts yesterday and earlier today as well. The crew is on board, as we were talking about, and they are about to close the hatch on the Dragon and do all of those leak checks that we were talking about before. So, so far so good. It's looking like it's going to be a great launch today for people heading to the ISS.
Absolutely. There's a question here, Sawyer, if you have met all the 4 astronauts of this mission. I'm sorry, at this point it's coming up. It's a thing.
You're never going to believe this. This is a very rare one. Mark the calendars. I have not met a single person on this crew. I'm
Wow.
surprised after all this time that I have yet to meet Peggy Whitson. I've seen her in passing, but I've never actually gotten to stop and talk to her and say hi. So I don't know if that counts, passing her, but actually getting to talk to her, I have not. I did get to talk to Tibor's backup today. He was around the press site, so I don't know if that counts as well, if regards to this crew. But again, you also have
Then
3 first-time flyers from 3 different nationalities with India, Hungary, and Poland represented.
dun dun dun.
Oh,
Sorry,
hand
I
in my
just
space card. I'm sorry.
I guess
sorry. I had to make that dramatic. Honestly,
Close
I
enough to your
love that you
singing.
I love that you have a qualifier that it doesn't count if you have not talked to them. It's like
I don't think it
that
counts. I mean, if chat says it counts, then yes, I'll count it. But
this is.
I love that qualifier. Go ahead, Alex.
I was thinking this is still a Sawyer flex because it's like, oh, I know so many astronauts that still these I don't know them, right? Like, you know what I mean,
I've
right?
only
It's
seen
the
them.
exception of the rule.
I mean, we were looking earlier. I had to check my list. Here's your Sawyer Flex, which was 110 people long. So, of the 110 astronauts I met, I have not gotten to actually stop and talk about Peggy. Just saying.
The Flying Diver is asking, does SpaceX have any plans on building their own space station as like a hub for further and more future missions to the moon, and ultimately Mars? Alex, let's talk about commercial upcoming space stations, and does SpaceX have one?
Well, they do not have plans as in, they have advertised, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, right? But at one point, you may recall that NASA was asking for commercial low Earth orbit. Oh, look at that. That's people from India watching. The pilot of this mission is from India, so that's amazing. Look at that.
Looks like a English school, apparently.
English school.
Probably, I bet you
in India.
It's probably somehow related, but
yeah. That's neat to always see that. But going back to the answer. So they have this program named commercial LEO destinations, essentially low Earth orbit stations with commercial companies. And in that process of competing for that, SpaceX did submit a proposal with Starship. It was not approved, but they said, you know what, let's try our hand. Maybe something comes out of that. So if it's sort of one of those things where it's like, we could do it. We're not going to be advertising this too much, but we could do it. It's one of those things, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's a matter of SpaceX getting contracts or something. SpaceX has the tendency to go where contracts are, if that makes sense. And if they see opportunities to combine a good contract with like something they're doing, they usually tend to do it. But yeah, right now nothing. But of course, Sawyer, Axiom here, is doing a space station.
Yes, there is the Axiom station. So there's VAST, which is Plan 1, which will use Dragon, and then you have the Axiom station, which is also currently being planned. So there is still a lot of space station work still to come. And I'm just going to point out here, we are hearing that the side hatch is closed with the ongoing leak check. They did have to reopen and close the hatch again, and when they checked, they found a fiber. So we've seen it before with the human hair. Now we have seen a hatch needing to be checked because of a single fiber.
I'm quickly going through some pictures here right now because I've actually seen the Axiom Space Station. And I quickly want to grab something here so we can show that on air. I got it. Thank you. But yeah, so they have to reopen the whole hatch and basically redo it again. Do they have time to do it?
They did already, from what we're understanding. Apparently, they found the fiber as they were originally closing the hatch, so they were able to remove that and then fully close it per the update from SpaceX there and Axiom. But I mean, that is, we joked before in a way about the human hair being the issue with the hatch closer. In this case, it was fiber. So lots of things that need to be checked out. But yes, the Axiom station, I believe, is set to be 3 modules and an airlock, if I recall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to quickly point out that the Axiom station is being constructed in Turin at Thales Alenia Space, and it's being constructed. Like I know people are saying, "Oh, is it being constructed?" Yes, there, bottom right. These are rings for the Axiom station. They are right next to modules for the Gateway station, and these are in fact being produced. Like this is happening. So I saw it. I stand next to it. So people are wondering, hey, are they doing it or are they just like talking about it? No, this station is very much being built. So yeah, they're building like every other space station is made in Turin. It's a thing. If it's a western part of a space station, it's most likely made in Italy. So thank you for quickly bringing that up, Kevin. So Sawyer, is we know they have some wiggle room in the countdown. Do you think this kind of delay will create any problem for today's window, or are they still in way off a margin?
Absolutely not. At this point, we've seen that in the past where a lot of times they'll be ahead of schedule, so to speak, in regards to the hatch closure. But considering that this has happened in previous missions, I'm trying to recall if it was Crew 5, I think, off the top of my head. I'm not sure which one. Um, they add in the extra time so that they can double check the seal. We've seen past missions where they literally had to keep sending pictures with iPads to all of the different people back in Mission Control, people in Hawthorne, the teams around the country working on it to make sure that all the hatches were intact, check the integrity. We've seen this happen on multiple missions, so it's one of those where they'd rather be safe than sorry, and that's also why they add in this extra cushioning. So unlike ULA, where they add in built-in holds to pad the timing a bit, SpaceX just does it says that it's going to take less time or longer, excuse me, than it actually will.
There we go. So everything seems to be still going. Sorry, I have a photo question here for you. I have no idea what this question talks about, but I know you're photographer, so I will throw this to you. When shooting a long exposure of a rocket launch, is it better to shoot very low ISO, like 200, when taking a 4 to 5 minute exposure of launches?
Oh, no, you want oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump the mic there. No, you want, the ISO I mean, depending on the brightness, sometimes you can get away with ISO 13, 14. Sometimes you have to go all the way up to ISO 22, 29. It really depends on the camera, how long you plan on shooting, and a lot of it also comes down to the fact of how much emphasis do you want on just the streak? Do you wanna get some of the foreground lit up in it as well? How much external light is in the area? So typically for this, I mean, I'll probably end up around F18, F20 for about probably an 8-minute exposure. So hopefully that helps as kind of a reference. I won't get too geeky with the cameras because I know not everyone's fully into that, but that hopefully that helps.
Quick follow-up question, Sawyer. What kind of camera do you use?
It depends. I mean, most of the people here at NSF are Canon users. I will say that now. I'm one of the odd ones out here, in that my street cameras that I use and my remote cameras that I use are Nikons. The street camera that I use is a 7500. The rest are I have a 5100, 3300, and then my main camera is a Sony A7 III.
There we go. I quickly wanted to hate that as well because we just got that question. I will go around the horn for this question because I think it's fun. Starting with Alex. Curveless Sphere is wondering what will happen first, the last crewed flight of Dragon or the first crewed flight of Starship?
What will happen first? Ooh.
Yep. Oh, by the way, I quickly interrupt here. We see scenes recorded earlier of the astronauts approaching the capsule. Sorry, I will interrupt this question here for that. There we see Uznański and I think Tibor Kapu boarding the capsule.
Two mission specialists.
Yep. Which they board usually second, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you can already see Peggy Whitson and Shubhanshu Shukla already inside of the capsule.
And it's worth noting again, as it says, this was recorded earlier. The hatch is closed, so don't be worried of, wait a minute, I thought the hatch was closed. Do they have to reopen it? You can also see that their seats were in the upright entry position rather than the launch leaned back to look at their screen position.
Yep, and you can see the Pad Ninja. In this case, I think it's Pad Ninja 16. Getting them into the seat. So that was recorded earlier. They are inside of that Dragon capsule. There in the top, you can see the capsule, and they are inside of that capsule. So yeah, it's happening so far. Let's go back to the question, Alex. What's happening first?
I think I'm gonna lean on the crew flight of Starship. mainly because I think Dragon will be flying for a long time, and in that long time, there's at least some chance that Starship may launch with crew on board. Some chance.
I agree. Sawyer.
I mean, I could see it going either way. I think though they would not retire Dragon until Starship is fully up and running. So I think I have to say the first crewed flight of Starship.
Do we count HLS as a crewed flight of Starship?
I think we mean lifting off as opposed
Okay.
to rendezvousing and then landing with it.
I get that. Okay, then I'm still also at Starship. Also a question here. Sorry, I'm throwing this to you as well. Why didn't we see the usual drive in the Teslas, etc.?
Who's there?
Well, because for the NASA missions, they come from
Hold on.
the operations and checkout
Link out.
facility, which is where all of
I think we're getting some comms
So
here.
as John mentioned earlier,
Oh, never mind. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. So the operations and checkout facility is quite a distance away from here. It's at least probably 5 miles ish drive. So it takes they do the suit up and check out there, then they drive all the way, then we see it past the VAB, and then they go to the pad. This one, because it is a private mission, they suit up over in the Falcon building, which is pretty much directly next to the horizontal integration facility and just outside the gate of the of pad 39A. So what we saw here earlier, the photos that we showed earlier of Max taking pictures of the crew, that was done right here in the press site parking lot. So the crew arrived in a white van, not sketchy. They did a media event. You got to see their families there. And then they did the official handover. So in the handover, they arrived in the van and then left in those Teslas. So that's probably why we haven't seen it.
There we go. So yeah, it's a bit of a different process for these Axiom missions, but it's still a process that they are now doing for the 4th time already. I lost the stat in my book here right now, but how many crewed flights does Dragon have at this point? It's like
This Dragon has 0.
no,
Yeah.
I mean in general, Dragon. Thank you. 18th human spaceflight mission by SpaceX. There you go.
Yep. And the 53rd overall flight of a Dragon spacecraft. That's counting, Crew Dragon, Cargo Dragon, Dragon 1, Dragon 2, all of the different Dragon missions that have gone to orbit.
And impressive. And also bringing up the total of people sent to space by SpaceX to 68.
See, when I wrote that stat, I was thinking, should I count individual people even if they repeat? Because this is Peggy Whitson's 2nd time on a Crew Dragon and on a Falcon 9. See, yeah. You know what I mean, right? Like, Jared Isaacman has launched also twice on Crew Dragon, and Michael Lopez Alegria also has done twice, and Peggy Whitson again, as I said, right? So, do those count? It will be instead 65, if not.
It's the good old stats. I think it's individual people sent to space versus people launched. I think it's like somewhere the distinction.
65 individual people then, and 68 in total. As in, when you count all of the different folks that have been in a Crew Dragon spacecraft going up into space and everything. There's been many missions of Crew Dragon, like 16 missions with 4 people on board, and then 2 missions with 2 people on board during launch. So that gets you 68 essentially.
There we go. Also, it's impressive to see these numbers. 494th Falcon 9 orbital flight. That's just ridiculous. I mean, 113 launches from 39A. There's a lot of rockets in history that have not flown 52 times, and this one will be the 52nd landing on LZ1.
You want another You want another crazy stat? You remember Demo 2, right? That was the first human launch by SpaceX. That was Falcon 9's 84th orbital flight. Not 184th, 284th, 84th. So it's been 410 launches since then by Falcon 9.
That's insane, honestly. That's
Right.
like it was so early. I have a hard time imagining like I wonder Alex, do you know how many roughly of these Falcon 9s you have watched live?
Probably like a 480 or something like that. I didn't watch live the first 15 or so, I think. Because I was into space, but I was not, able to watch some of these launches live at the time. Yeah. But then I sort of started to take out some time to start watching them, and here I am. But yeah, at least 480.
There we go. Sawyer, are you still keeping track how many you have seen live, or is it just a lot?
I mean, it depends if we're talking here at the press site up here at Cape Canaveral versus the ones that I'm able to see when I'm at home, which is a little farther away. I mean, if you count the ones that I'm able to see from far away, it's in the hundreds. Here, it's probably about 70 something. And I mean, talking about this, I was here for COTS 2-3. So if you want to talk about early Falcon flights, there you go.
Wow. What was your first launch you have ever seen as like press?
As press, STS-135, final shuttle mission.
Dang, that's quite a historic one to start. That's insane. Sorry, I was just going down memory lane here. I have seen 0 Falcon 9s live. There you go.
Oh well. When I meant live, I meant like
I know.
online.
Yeah.
I only seen one in person. That's the only one.
True, you have seen. You were in Florida. True.
Yeah, I was wanting to see more, but the next one after the one that I watched failed, and so they stood down for like 2 or 3 weeks. And
Oh yeah, true. We had the stat of like every time you fly to the States, Falcon 9 gets grounded.
No, because the last time it did not get grounded, although Starship did fail. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like
It's either
if
Falcon
Alex,
9 or Starship. I
yeah,
guess.
if Alex goes to the States, something bad happens to a SpaceX program.
Alpha also had
So-
an issue as well during its latest launch. While I was there, it was a bit unfortunate. What I will say though, since that last time that they had a launch failure on Falcon 9, this is the 142nd launch, and it's not even being a year. That was in July, middle July 2024. It's been less than a year, and this is 142 launches after that. If you want another crazy stat.
A lot of launches. They like to launch a lot.
They do.
Oh, this is Sawyer. What is
Yes.
stopping SpaceX from building a launch complex in the Midwest, and is there any downsides to being in the middle of the US?
The biggest problem with launching somewhere from the Midwest is the fact that on your east, your west, your north, and your south, you have people. Your trajectory options are also limited because any direction that you go in, there will be launching over houses, over communities. That is something that they don't want to do. In the event that something were to go wrong, you never want people to be in the way. That's also why we see the hazard areas for launch hazard areas for boating. That's also why we see the NOTAMs, the notice to airmen, formerly missions that we see to keep planes out of the way. If something goes wrong, you don't want any person or property to be damaged. With the Cape, if you go east and something happens, you're over the Atlantic Ocean. Even if you do the Southern Polar Corridor, same thing. For the ones out of Vandenberg, they scoot around the coast of California, so they're going over the Pacific Ocean. Starbase, you're going over the Gulf. So at this point, it's basically a way to make sure that everyone underneath stays safe.
So that
There we go.
means
And go ahead, Alex.
I was thinking that means you cannot launch from Chicago and land the booster in Detroit. then.
Or Wyoming.
Uh,
I don't think. Okay, never mind.
the chat beat you to it. So yeah, they already made jokes that we can launch from the Wyoming coast.
Thank you, chat.
Yeah, they're fast, so they already got it. What are your best guess for the Dragon name? We talked a bit about it earlier, but so far not really any. I think Gray still is a very cool name. I think something like that. That's also stuff that they hinted in press conferences. But we will get to know the name somewhere in hopefully the next 120 minutes. So then we'll know. Again, if you have any further question, tag at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we will get to your questions about Axiom and all of these crewed launches coming up and past. So yeah, we'll get to anything that you throw at us. Hopefully, every crewed ship so far could land on water on its own. If Starship can only be caught in a few places on Earth, how would they crew rate it? That's an interesting question that I don't have a smart answer to besides a lot of reliability. Anybody else want to tackle this question?
I can take it. I mean, I think cruise ships for Starship, they're probably gonna add the legs on those just in a what if scenario. I'm not also sure if they're gonna be caught, those cruise ships as well. I wouldn't at least trust that sort of landing method if it was me. I mean, I'm really scared about the whole thing about going to space and whatnot. But if I wasn't scared, I would probably prefer good old legs. At the very least, as a backup kind of thing. They still need to re-enter through the atmosphere on Mars if they want to get anything on the surface of Mars with legs. So why not do the same for ships on Earth, right? That's my take.
Yeah, I fully agree with the take. I also would like to have some sort of landing legs or something, but if I would be on a space vehicle to land. I also, if I had to choose, I would prefer a capsule. I don't know. It feels more proven to me. But hey, there's smart people that do the math here, and they are probably have a good understanding of what can be done and can't be done. So, yeah. Sawyer, there's a question here about how is Axiom funded and what they are actually doing. How is Axiom getting money for these missions, and what kind of services are they also providing?
So Axiom is a private company, so it's not like they're getting money from NASA or anything like that. It is entirely privately funded, and so they have researchers that will pay to have their experiments done on board. They have the nations that will help get their astronauts on board that will pay to be aboard. So all of it is through that type of private funding. They also have investors, they have partners, they have partnership opportunities that they offer as well. But the main thing is, you want to get your stuff up to the space station to test it? Sure, we'll put it up. Just pay us.
Yeah, it's one part of the whole LEO commercialization that NASA has also pursued the last few years. In a way that not everything is handled by NASA going up there. They also allow other companies, like for example Axiom, to handle some of the LEO research. So it's part of the overall strategy, I would say. And especially, of course, something that Bridenstine talked about a lot as a NASA administrator, about making LEO commercially available. So you can actually see that coming to plan here, I would say.
Customer among customers. Something like that,
Yeah.
he used to say.
Oh, yeah, that the customer among customers sentence that he dropped
Yeah.
in like every single Yeah, I remember.
He had a few phrases like that, like, also the launching American astronauts from American soil, American rockets. That was another one.
Yeah, yeah. I remember there were some Bridenstine quotes that were like present in every single press conference. But honestly, he was right, and he got a lot of Leo commercial industry going. So props to that. Alex, how would they fix a logs leak on the first stage?
Well, last we know, it was on the engine bay section, on the octaweb and everything. So they have access panels because, one of the neat things about reusable rockets is that you kind of need to build them so that you can inspect them and go inside and things like that, right? Other certain rockets take a little bit more of work to get inside and things like that. And so you cannot really inspect them or change things that easy. And so that's probably what they did. They just, went into the engine section and repaired the small LOX leak that they had. Yeah, it's for all the rockets, I'm thinking, for example, SLS, they have to set up this mess of scaffolding inside and everything to be able to access some of the places, and like there's systems everywhere because that engine section, for example, it's very crowded with those RS-25 engines. There's all the rockets where it's maybe about the access that they have at the pad versus what they have at the hangar, for example. Here at the pad, they are able to access the aft section of the rocket very easily because they have what they call the dense floor. If you've watched Starship and whatever, they also have a version of that at the launch mount as well. They have the same thing here with Falcon 9. And so they can access the aft section very easily. With quotes there on easily, right? But very much, accessible. Whereas all the rockets, if you want access to the engines or even a little bit higher up, then you probably need to roll them back to the hangar. Falcon 9, even if you wanted to access a little bit higher up, you can just, put it horizontal and still do the work on the pad. You don't really need to roll it back to the hangar for that.
There we go. SpaceX certainly know how to maintenance their vehicles, as they have probably performed similar work in the past, and that's how you gain experience fixing your vehicle in the future. Sawyer, we are now about 85 minutes away from launch. What will be the next steps? What is Falcon 9 doing? When will we actually see fueling? What's going on here? And I think, Sawyer, you're still muted.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so in terms of where we are currently with the timeline, as we pointed out earlier, the hatch is closed. And that was pretty much the last major milestone for a little while here. Now that the crew is in, they're going to just be settled in, running through some checklists, getting as comfortable as they can, being on their backs. But the next thing will be fuel. So in regards to this, fuel loading does happen very similar to what we're seeing with the normal Falcon 9 launches, with the getting the go for launch ahead of time. The difference being, as you see on your screen, the LD verifies go for launch at 45 minutes as opposed to 38. And that's because a couple of minutes later, they will retract the crew access arm away from the vehicle. So that will swing out of the way. In a worst case scenario, it can swing back very quickly, but that's also the reason why before they begin fueling, they will arm the launch escape system so that if for some reason something bad happens during fueling and they need to get away, they absolutely can with the crew on board. Only once the launch escape system is armed will they then go through the typical fuel loading process that we're used to, starting with the RP1, the rocket propellant 1, the refined kerosene in stages 1 and 2. Then we'll have the 20-minute, 20-second vent, the liquid oxygen loading in stage 2. Then you'll get the engine chills. And then the other thing is, as we get closer to launch, that is when Dragon will go on to its internal power as opposed to ground power. Falcon and Dragon enter startup at 1 minute. And then we get the go for launch, hopefully, at about 45 seconds.
There we go. Thank you for that overview. And quite some steps still to go. Again, this Falcon 9 is not fueled yet. It's an empty Falcon 9. Alex, it's probably like pressurized, right? But like empty in the sense of propellants.
Yeah, the COPVs, for example, do get loaded early on. roughly 6 to 7 minutes before the launch. That's because they are high pressure. There are other types of there are multiple types of COPVs now that they've been been in the news lately. On Falcon 9, there's like some of the COPVs that just hold things roughly ambient temperature, like the nitrogen, for example, for the attitude control system on the first stage and second stage, for example. But there are other COPVs that they load cryohelium, as they call it, essentially helium that is very, very cold, nearly a liquid, essentially. And though that gets loaded sort of in phases, they load a little bit early in the count, then they finally sort of top off those COPVs later into the count. We may hear some of those callouts as we progress through the countdown. They do a couple of different checks of that cryohelium load, as they call it, and so we may hear that. But other than that, the propellant tanks themselves are not loaded right now. So yeah, it's pretty much empty apart from, again, those pressurization and other sorts of COPVs.
There we go. And just friendly reminder, because I anticipate this question hitting. The COPVs on Starship and Falcon 9 are different COPVs.
Yeah,
like SpaceX
exactly.
said that they're not related. So don't worry. Otherwise, we probably would have seen already an investigation into Falcon 9 as well. So yeah. A lot of questions about the name. Again, we don't know the name of the capsule yet. The astronauts will probably announce that once this new capsule is in the air. And at this point, Sonia, do you mind also... actually, Alex. Alex, do you mind giving a very quick overview, because we have not talked about it for quite some time here. What is this mission? What is happening today? And just give a good overview of what is Falcon 9 launching today?
Well, Falcon 9 is launching a Crew Dragon, a new Crew Dragon, C213, that is its sort of serial number. And it is launching 4 people to the ISS, to the International Space Station. Axiom 4 is a 4th mission under Axiom's own sort of private human spaceflight program. You may recall that they launched already Axiom 1, 2, and 3, all of them to the ISS. And this is going to be the 4th one. Axiom is sort of developing their own human spaceflight program with their own Axiom station, as we were sort of overviewing before. And so these missions are sort of, precursors to those, to their own space station. So they get to learn, what it takes to get a crew trained, what it takes to, get them to a space station, do research. This crew is going to do all of that. They're going to be going to the ISS. They're going to spend there roughly a couple of weeks or so up there on the station and performing dozens of research experiments and science investigations. Pretty much, doing all of the things that you would expect for a crew on the ISS, utilizing all of those resources up there. The launch of Axiom 4 is today scheduled for June 25th at 2:31:52 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:31:52 UTC. The first stage, as you can see there, that trajectory to the northeast, it's going to head out over the Atlantic Ocean, parallel to the U.S. East Coast. And that first stage, that booster, is flying for a second time and will be returning back to the landing zone 1 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So if you are in the area, expect sonic booms. The second stage will head into a low Earth orbit and deploy the Dragon. And after that, it'll be performing its own disposal burn over the Indian Ocean, even though we are cube zooming that here into the stream. And so there you can see it's going to be over the Pacific Ocean, sort of like even less than an orbit after the launch, sort of over the Pacific Ocean east of New Zealand. And so that's sort of the flight profile of today. Of course, there's many other things, such as, who is flying on board and things like that. But we can talk about that a little bit later on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that summary, Alex. It's quite a mission. And there we see the absolutely cute 0G indicator again. That apparently is a hint for the name of the mission. I love that zoom into it. That was a good zoom. That was a very good zoom. It's very adorable. I will try to get the 0G indicator. If somebody finds it on an online shops, please send me a link on X. Thank you. I see. I have not asked chat yet. Chat, what do you think it will be named? Let's get the hive mind here working. Everybody in chat, what do you think will be the name of the capsule? I kind of wanna know.
I have already
Okay.
said that it will be very funny if it were to be Cygnus because of the whole confusion. Cygnus is the other cargo spacecraft to the ISS, by the way. I don't know how many people might be watching that might not know that, but hey, there you have it.
That's sorry, I'm
Capsule
still
capsule phase.
in my replay, just the cube zoom came up, the very slow cube zoom, and yeah, I kinda was excited about that. Sawyer, with now 75 minutes to go, I think it's quickly time for another weather check with you. Weather's still great?
Weather is still great, yes. Since we talked last, the number of clouds in the sky has gone from 0 to 0 as I'm looking around. The
Nice.
sky is absolutely clear. It is quite humid this morning, which is a shock to no one who's from Florida. But there's a light breeze, nothing that would be any concerns for launch. The flag at the press site here is dead still. Um, it's about as perfect a weather night as you can get. And as we saw earlier, the most important additional criteria with regards to upper level winds, landing the booster back at LZ1, solar activity, and the port ascent corridor weather are all no concern at all. So the official forecast for the last we heard, and as you see on their screen there, was only a 10% chance of violation, so 90% go. And in regards to the ascent corridor weather, if something were to happen that they need to abort and splash down in one of the emergency sites, that is a 95% go currently, so very favorable if needed.
Somebody in chat suggested normal names like Bob for it, and it would be like Endeavor, Resilience, Endurance, Freedom, and Bob.
If only they didn't already have a Bob and a Doug
Yeah,
and
that's
a
true.
Megan and a Shannon.
Yeah, we need another name. But it would be very funny. Or somebody else also suggested C213. Just name it.
That is a clever name.
Yeah. Another name that was suggested was Crew Dragon. It's Crew Dragon, Crew Dragon. I mean,
I'm sure I can come up
sorry,
with a pun-related name, but I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm just way excited about these funny name. Somebody was very excited about the name Goku and caps locked that. So yeah, apparently we are. I'm not sure if one of these predictions will be true, but please let me know after the flight if your prediction was true, and I would totally
Also, the person
believe
who
you
said
if you claimed that. Go ahead,
I
Sarah.
appreciate the person that said Puff, because for those who don't know, the reason for the naming of the dragon capsule is because of the song Puff the Magic Dragon. That is legitimately why it is called Dragon. And the Falcon, for those who are wondering where that name came from, that is from the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to call it Puff.
They should call it Palpatine, and when it returns, they say somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh.
Sorry. Veronica having a question here. I will relay that to Max in the back channel. We'll ping him. Did some photographers manage to picture the Tesla plates? I'm not sure yet. So I will
true.
get relay.
I just
Yeah,
asked Max. He said he was not able to see what the plates were.
Got it. There we go. So yeah, we'll if we spot them, we will make sure to relay that information to you. So yeah, that is they of course. Do they change them still every flight, or is it sometimes like we had some doubles? I think, right?
We have not had doubles that I can recall. For every single NASA crew mission, they have had different number plates for it. I don't recall if they ever reused any for Axiom. I don't believe they did. No, every single one has been unique.
Huh. Interesting. And I think we see cars departing from the pad.
Oh, I think I
Uh,
know what it is. I think it says by Axiom. I think it says, yeah, and the A is a 4.
Ah, there we go.
Because they were
Uh,
showing some of the footage of them driving to the pad before. And so I went like, okay, let me look. And yeah, it says, I think, by Axiom with the A being a 4. They tend to do that.
There we go. And the pad crews are departing, so Falcon 9 probably at this point on its own. And that is about the timeline we would expect, correct, Alex?
Yeah, they have plenty of time to do that. And that's one of the neat things of loading the crew early on so that you have plenty of time to do these things. They are pretty much comfortable there. They are, just lying down there. One of the things that they do usually between the closing of the hatch and everything and getting to the propellant load is checking out a lot of the things that they need to, all of the systems, for example, communications, weather, and all of that. They need to check that out. They do checks, for example, of the engines as well on both stages. And so roughly at T-minus 1 hour, that's when they start doing all of those go, no-go polls internally, like at different places, like, on the Axiom side, they're going to be doing their own polls. The ISS, the station also needs to be ready to receive the crew, right? You don't want to launch the crew and then finding out, shucks, the ISS is not ready, right? Like, so that's one of those things as well that they need to do before the launch, before proceeding with the propellant load. And so, and then at the final sort of moment is, the launch director at the Launch Control Center at the Kennedy Space Center will do the final sort of round of go, no go for launch operators, because there's mission control in Hawthorne, but there's also launch control at the Kennedy Space Center. So it's going to be, bit of a back and forth there. But yeah, that should be happening roughly in 20 minutes or so prior to the propellant load start, and also prior to the retraction of the crew access arm and the arming of the launch escape system. Lots of things that will happen roughly in 20 minutes from now.
Absolutely. And I have something cool to show you here, because since this is a crew mission, we thought, what can we do in the store that kind of moderates this and like gives this a cool item next to it. And we noticed an item that we don't have in the store yet that we kind of want to have, and I'm very glad to have because I'm actually in the market to get one of these. We now have phone cases. I'm not sure if we can bring them up. There we are. We have Dragon phone cases for both iPhone and Samsung phones available in the store now. And I'm actually very in dire. I'm so glad you cannot see my phone. I'm in very dire need of a new phone case. So I will get one of these. Very cool that we have these one. Thanks again to Lindsay for getting these ready. And yeah, you can now get them if you go to the accessories tab in the store on shop.NASASpaceflight.com. You will find most of the current Samsungs and iPhone devices there. So you should find the one that you need. And of course, we have plenty other merch, as including our Crewed Spaceflight merch. We have prints, of course, if you want to support your photographers and we also want to get something on the wall, for example, on Falcon 9. Make sure to get that. We have plenty of Starship flight test merch. As always, just enjoy. There's our Human Spaceflight collection. I will still love that. It's so cool. So cool designs. There's even a poster of it. So if you want to celebrate human spaceflight, make sure to get this design again and support us on the way doing it. Thank you all so much for the continued support. And with that, we are going back to commentary. And we'll commentate here on the final 67 minutes before launch of Axiom. What a wild road it has been, Sawyer, to get to this point so far.
Wild road is an understatement, given the initial issues that we saw with the concern with the LOX leak, and then the leak aboard the ISS, constantly pushing it back. So it was going to be delayed a day, and then delayed further, and well, we're finally here at least.
Troubleshooting paths at this time, and are working to resolve the issue. So I will follow up with you in 10 minutes on the status. How copy?
Okay,
Copy, you're troubleshooting the ability to upload the wind conditions for the launch escape system, and you'll update us in 10. Thanks.
And just to make that super crystal clear, if we do not successfully upload this by the time we get to LES arm, we will be no-go for launch.
Did I get it correct?
I was thinking you might be thinking that as well. Dragon copies.
Did I get that correct that they are not able to upload their wind data? Alex, are you around with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to listen carefully to that call out. Yeah, so they are apparently having trouble getting uploading the wind data on the Dragon for downrange abort scenarios, because one of the things that you don't want to happen is that, you know, the capsule doesn't even know what's happening downrange, right? They have all of these different data points for the wind and whatnot, and so that's one of the things that they were sort of trying to sort through, and it apparently is not an easy thing right now. They're trying to troubleshoot that. If for whatever reason they will not be able to do that by the time of the launch escape system being armed, then that will be a no-go for today's launch attempt, because again, that's one of the things, right? They can abort right from the pad, and as soon as that launch escape system is armed, then that means, you know, they are in that section of the mission where if the Dragon does not have that updated wind data, then it's not a good thing, right? But yeah.
Yeah, Axiom completing the bingo of having every potential launch issue you can have, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Interesting. So this is not full panic. Chat, we are not in panic mode yet. We are calm. They could fix this. We have seen in the past that SpaceX is very good at troubleshooting. But of course, I mean, we heard it from SpaceX itself. This is a launch critical upload. So, Sawyer, in all your years of covering spaceflight, have you ever heard of a launch having issues because of an upload failure? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, I needed to be quiet while they were giving the update. I've not heard of this in any kind of scenario before. I mean, there are certain times where they will continue to upload files to all of the different rockets. There's like the adjust file that goes for Atlas. So they're constantly updating the guidance systems, updating weather, updating conditions for the onboard computers to make their decisions. I can't say I've ever heard of a launch delayed because weather data was not being uplinked properly.
Interesting.
I have heard though of, obviously not a Crew Dragon, but it was a booster a long time ago that was lost pretty much because of that, because of bad wind data that was loaded onto the booster to sort of, you know, sort through the wind as it was coming to the drone ship. And that was, I think, either B1056 or B1048, I don't remember. It was like 2 back-to-back landing failures of a booster. And in one of those was pretty much because of that, because it was bad wind data on the booster, and so the booster was sort of, you know, going through the atmosphere, not even knowing what it was encountering. So yeah.
Yep, it's we are in an interesting situation now. Constantly monitoring. And we are standing by for more information. And of course we'll wait here.
Yeah, we'll stand by and see what happens.
When is that point where they arm the launch abort system?
Roughly 42 minutes before the launch. Yeah.
Interesting. This is gonna be an interesting one. We'll have to wait and see. So
that's the point. That's the timeline for today's flight.
What?
Go ahead,
Alex.
I was gonna say, those times, except the one for 35, like T-minus 35, that's always right on point, right? Some of the others, or even like the LOX chill down, it's still also pretty much on point. But the rest may differ. I guess liftoff is also at 0. Okay, so except for propellant load start and liquid oxygen chill down and startup and Falcon 9 liftoff, for example, those are fixed. The others can be a little bit, like sometimes we've seen the crew access arm retracting a little bit earlier than 42. Sometimes we've seen them doing the launch escape system being armed a little bit earlier than 39 minutes. As long as all of that is done by 35 minutes, which is when the automated launch countdown sequence begins, that's the launch auto sequence, and they start the propellant load. As long as that is done before that, they're good to go. But yeah, that's one of those things that if they do not complete these by that launch escape system arm point in the timeline, then they will have to S-word this mission. Not gonna say it.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna say it either. At this point, I don't want to be the one to jinx it.
Yeah.
I will be very careful. I don't want anybody to look into my recent statistics, but I had a lot of scrubs lately. I said it. Well.
Thanks, Adrian.
I did not say it. Chad is saying that I said it. I did not say it.
Yeah, I said it. I'm sorry. And this was not even intentional. Yeah. Anyway, Sawyer, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little less better now that you've said that, but otherwise we are now officially under 1 hour to go here. So the excitement is still palpable. I think everyone here is keeping everything that they can crossed that they're able to get these the data uploaded properly to the capsule so that they can proceed.
Absolutely. And again, I want to be clear here. There's still a good chance they can fix this. That they are they have probably some very good backup opportunities here to upload this. They still have 20 minutes to upload this.
SpaceX, for awareness,
yeah.
we're cycling the orbit tank isolation valves to equalize low flow pressure.
Dragon copy.
Okay, some low flow pressure.
That's normal. That's some of their cycling of valves and everything before launch. Yeah.
So basically, the crew is mostly told because there will be some noises.
Yeah. Exactly. Normally they do that. Yeah, so that if they hear any noises, they're not like, "Oh, what's happening?" Right? They are aware that it's going to be happening, and so yeah. You usually hear, like, for example, when they prepare for propellant load, and they vent the tanks, they sometimes do the call out of like, "We're going to be venting the tanks ahead of propellant load. Expect loud venting," or something like that. And so they are aware that if they hear a loud vent, it's not anything that is going wrong or anything. It's just that it's something normal happening, but they're aware that it's happening at the very least.
Absolutely. And most of the communications with the crew, of course, is to keep them in a loop. It's not like they have a very active role during this part of the countdown, but they, of course, need to be in the loop, understand the situation, and that's what we are hearing. And this is not only, Alex, this is not the only comms channel they have for the crew, right? We don't get to hear every single comms. They have like the big loop, and then they also have like smaller dedicated channels.
Yeah, at least for the ground to Dragon, it's like multiple channels on the ground. Like they can be talking to the crew from mission control. Like the one that we were hearing was the core, the crew operations resource engineer, right? That's the one at Hawthorne at mission control. But then there's also launch control. So the launch director may also talk to the crew, and that we will probably hear that closer to the liftoff. So we will have launch director also talking to the crew. You have, when they approach to the ISS, they have the big loop where they also have connection with Houston, NASA mission control in Houston. So they have multiple channels on the ground that need to connect to Dragon, and so there's like different ways for them to be able to talk to the crew. It's it's quite interesting when they go through all of the all of the comms checks and everything.
Absolutely. So yeah, for people who are just joining, apparently SpaceX was unable to upload the weather data so far to the Dragon capsule, which would be required by the time they arm the launch escape system. That arming is in about 20 minutes from now, so they have 20 minutes to troubleshoot this problem. If they are able to troubleshoot this problem, everything actually looks good for a launch opportunity today in terms of weather and everything else. However, this weather data and this wind data is critical, and they cannot arm the launch escape system without it. So that is the current situation, and we are standing by for more information from SpaceX about exactly that file upload. And we just don't know what exactly the issue is with the upload, but there's probably very good explanations why a file cannot be uploaded. Alex, I have a statistic questions for you. Is this the first time a private mission is flying the inaugural launch of a Dragon capsule?
Yeah, so that is indeed the case. You may recall that we had the first Crew Dragon with crew on board. That was Endeavour
Dragon SpaceX for
C206.
awareness, we are continuing troubleshooting on the wind file upload. It has not been resolved yet. Troubleshooting is continuing.
Dragon copies. Continuing troubleshooting.
Well, there we go. Still working on that. But yeah, as I was saying before, we had Endeavour C206 that was flying on Demo 2 on its first mission. That was a NASA crew mission. Resilience, the second one, that was Crew 1. And then we had Endurance C210 on Crew 3. And then Crew 4 was with Freedom. That was its first mission for that capsule. So this will be the first time a Crew Dragon capsule is being sort of debuted on a private commercial mission. So that's neat.
Absolutely. And again, we just heard they're still troubleshooting that issue that has not been resolved yet, so it doesn't seem to be an easy fix. Should we already talk about potential backup opportunities, Sawyer? Should this not go today, or don't want to manifest that?
I mean, I don't want to manifest it, but it seems like they would have opportunities over the next few days. I haven't seen official, unless Alex has seen otherwise, but the weather still looks decent for the next couple of days if they need to attempt another day. The only concern as we go on in the week is concerns for the abort weather. If they needed to, the seas get a little more rough.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have just been careful. It's just a thing we need to talk through, and because that's just the situation. Go ahead.
And it's probably important to mention, right? They cannot hold because they need to do a rendezvous with the ISS, which means if they waited even like 10 or 15 minutes, the ISS orbit will be already well past any targeting that Falcon 9 can do. And so, they really need to launch in 52 minutes, 52 seconds, or else they don't launch today. And so they cannot really hold and try to troubleshoot that. That's one of the things that happens here as well. But yeah, that's pretty much. If for whatever reason it will not be today, they have an opportunity tomorrow, roughly the same time of the day, just a little bit earlier by 20 minutes or so. At 2:09, if I'm not mistaken, is where they will be targeting that. But let's hope it is today, shall we? Let's try today.
Yeah, I like today. I'm sure they will be able to fix it, and then we will see a launch in 52 minutes from now. That's my optimism. There you go. People are saying if I say the S word again, I get booted off the stream. That's harsh. Yeah. Also, somebody mentioning that Gemini 9 had a launch scrub because a last-minute guidance update couldn't be loaded into the Gemini computer. So some historic notes for that. And whoa, I have to quickly mention this. Alex Perdue with a $200 super chat saying, "Keep up the work. Love you guys. I'm addicted to NSF. Love Alex. He's a rocket genius." Alex, you have now been called by Alex, another Alex, a rocket genius. Thank you so much for that enormous amount of support. That's incredible. And
yeah, I'll take the support, but I don't consider myself any rocket genius or anything like that. But thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the
Falcon
show,
launch
and
operator. The propellant load and launch go pole is open in step 11.87 of 1.160.
There we go. Go no go poll is open. Let's quickly explain that, Sawyer, because they say the poll is open. They're not really conducting a classic poll with voices, right?
Correct. They each have buttons located at their consoles that they will press to say whether they are green or red, go or no go. And the other thing is that, as you've seen from our timelines, it's not that they have to say immediately as they're called on like you hear from other launches. There is a slight opening where they can discuss everything, check everything, and then by the time they hit that verifying go for launch point, everyone will have had to put in their final thing. So they still have a couple minutes to work on everything and wait for the whole board to theoretically be green.
Yep. It is an interesting situation. Again, they're working some upload issues. Except for that, Alex, everything looks perfect, right? Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the rocket is healthy, launch pad as well. Dragon, other than the wind file thing, right? It's looking good. The weather is good. The hazard zones are clear as well. They only are working on that issue with the wind file upload on Dragon. And I just heard as well that the ISS, the flight control room in Houston from NASA, that has also given the go-ahead with the launch. They are also ready to support the mission. So overall, except for that stinking file for the wind, that's the only thing that they are, apparently working on. So, yeah.
And to be clear, I see people talking about, is this an issue on the 45th or the SpaceX side? This is expected to be, the upload would be conducted by SpaceX, correct?
Yeah. That's what they're troubleshooting here with the Dragon. I mean, sometimes when you try to upload a file, right, it doesn't work. You have to change some of the things. It's like that. It's not as easy as, uploading, I don't know, to Google Drive or something like that.
It's worth remembering, by the way, this is a... Oops, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying, it is worth noting, this is a brand new capsule. This is the capsule's first time out on the launch pad, ready to go for a launch. First time it's gotten this point into the countdown. So that is just worth keeping in mind.
And also keeping in mind is, of course, all the interesting information we have about today's Astros. If only we had the person that wrote the launch article about this and has all the facts on this call. Wouldn't that be great, Sawyer?
Oh, if only.
Yeah, that would be great. Sawyer, Sawyer, do you mind giving us an overview? What's today's crew? And just give us all the interesting facts about them.
Sure, we'll go backwards here. We'll start with MS2, and that's Tibor Kapu, who is from Hungary, studied Budapest University of Technology and Economics, went actually to work into pharmaceutical industry before working in the automotive industry, and then was selected as one of 4 Hungarian to orbit astronauts in 2023. It's the Hunor program. So he's also very well known for doing a lot of skydiving and also has run 21 half marathons. We'll move on now to, let me make sure I have the pronunciation guy right, as we go to MS1, Mission Specialist 1, Sławosz Uznański Wisniewski, who, as I'm sure you could tell by the name, is originally from Poland. They are part of ESA's project. He's an ESA project astronaut. Started off studying in Poland as well as overseas in France. getting a doctorate, and then working at CERN, and was the engineer in charge for the Large Hadron Collider before joining the ESA Astronaut Reserve class in 2022. We'll move our way now to the pilot of this mission, and that is Shubhanshu Shukla. Also, all three of them on their first flight for this was a group captain originally in the Air Force, being born in Uttar Pradesh, India. Has more than 2,000 hours flight experience in about 5 or 6 different types of aircraft. Actually took place for astronaut training back in 2019, or I should say cosmonaut training in Star City, Russia back then, and then eventually was selected as one of 4 astronauts to train for India's upcoming human spaceflight program, Gaganyaan. In the meantime, though, he was selected to pilot this particular mission. So this will only be the second person ever from India, from Poland, or Hungary to fly into space. But one person who is probably the most experienced member of this crew would be the
Dragon
commander,
SpaceX,
and
you may
that
go
is
for
Peggy
Section
Whitson.
5, and when ready, report go for launch. For awareness, we are still troubleshooting the wind upload file. I will have a few more words for you after you confirm your go for launch.
Wilco, inward, Section 5.
And in fact, that's his voice you
Peggy?
heard there. Yep.
And SpaceX
who was
Dragon,
just
we
a
are
couple-
go for launch. Section 5 is complete.
Copy, Section 5 complete. All right, for awareness on timeline, we have to have the launch escape system armed by T-minus 37 minutes. So we are going to take this as far as we can. What I'll need from you guys is a very fast turn on the commanding for launch escape arm, provided we get to that point. I'll copy.
Copy. Understand LAS has to be armed by no later than T-minus 37 minutes, and we will be prepared.
Copy that.
There you could hear giving them a couple extra minutes to get that launch escape system armed to troubleshoot. And if anyone can do it, it is Peggy Whitson, who was just this past month inducted into the Astronaut Hall of Fame. Currently holds the record for the most time in space by an American with over 675 total days in
This is
orbit.
the launch director on
Was
the
the former
countdown
head
net.
of the astronaut
The
office.
poll is complete and the team is ready for crew access arm retract and propellant load and launch pending resolution of the winds upload issue. For all operators in MCC and Hangar X, both controls are going to lockdown at T-minus 45 minutes and will remain in that state until the LES system is disarmed. All operators are to remain at their console and maintain a sterile cockpit until the ND confirms successful disarming of the launch escape system following orbit insertion or propellant offload in the event of a scrub. For non-urgent no-go conditions, brief the CE or LD and they will approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed into the launch abort auto sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off and relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. Operators shall advise the launch director whether structural breakup or fire is imminent or occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. Launch control, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
There we go. I didn't want to talk about it. They are proceeding
Crew
forward
access arm
now as
retraction has
normal.
started.
And crew access arm will now... There we go. It moves away. And with that, they are proceeding as normal, and they take it as low as they can before they make the final call with the upload data. So,
Yeah.
quite a crunch time here.
There's the arm. It doesn't swing all the way out. It's usually sort of like halfway through, and then at liftoff, then it goes out all the way. Similarly to the Stromberg, I guess.
Yep, it is.
But yeah, 5
Quite-
more minutes.
Actually, quite fast for such like it's not a small object. This crew access arm.
Yeah. But yeah, they have 5 more minutes until that decision, to troubleshoot. They're trying to give it a try pretty much until the last minute, right? And
Crew
trying to
access
have
arm
as many
retraction
options.
complete.
There we go. Everybody, remember to breathe, okay?
Think upload thoughts.
Exactly, that too.
Think upload thoughts. That's what I'm saying here. We are about 5 minutes away from them having to make this decision, and we have not heard of a resolvement of the issue as of yet.
Yeah, and
They
they were,
are working on it.
Yeah, and the crew needs to manually sort of, command the launch escape system to be armed, because otherwise, like it could probably be done sort of, remotely, right? But they need to approve the command and things like that from inside. And so that's why they were told, once we get to that point, if we are go, then, be prepared to quickly turn around that and being able to do that command quickly before we go into propellant load. So yeah.
Interesting. It is quite a crunch time here. And we are trying to not talk over them. That's why we are in a bit of a short sentence mode, as you know from us. But we are also, we're basically waiting for the final resolve of this upload issue. Again, if you're joining us late, they have an upload issue with wind data, and they will need to resolve that before arming of the launch escape system for the launch to continue. So that is our current situation. And we are minutes away from that being critical. And they are still working on it. They're still proceeding with the count, but they can only proceed so far without arming the launch escape system. So why are they arming the launch escape system so early before launch?
That's because they fuel before launch, so they're arming it prior to fuel loading happening. So that way, in the event something happens while they're loading up the LOX and the RP-1, they can basically jettison the capsule away and have it splash down nearby. It's a safety issue in the event something goes wrong during tanking.
Exactly. So we are in 2 minutes. That they have to resolve it in 2 minutes. We will know in about 100 seconds if they are go for launch today. This is a bad way of excitement I didn't expect for today.
Yeah.
We will see. And we are standing by for final resolvement. We'll probably get that very soon. And
could be any moment.
Of course, if they go, they will start propellant loading basically a few minutes after that. They will start the launch auto sequence basically right.
Is complete. You are go for section 6, close visors and arm launch escape system.
There we go.
Thank God.
Visors are closed and arming launch escape system now.
Good job, everybody. We are back on track. That was an emotional roller coaster.
With 90 seconds to spare, keep in mind. Normally, they would arm the launch escape system at T-minus 39 minutes. They were able to add in 2 minutes of, if we push it, we could probably take it down to T-minus 37. So they had 90 seconds to do that.
And with the good vibes, the good upload thoughts from chat and everybody, we should be now back on track for the start of auto sequence in just a minute from now, right, Alex?
Yeah, at T-minus 35 minutes, the launch countdown auto sequence will start, and that'll be when they load propellant on the first stage. That'll be both the fuel RP-1 kerosene and the oxidizer.
Verified armed.
Nice.
Here we go. Did they get a response from the crew, or is it just that? Okay, so so they're gonna load the RP-1 kerosene, the fuel, the liquid oxidizer on the first stage, and they will also be loading RP-1 kerosene on the second stage.
For the start of propellant load.
There we go.
Woo.
Less than 2 minutes.
Sorry. This is like a sun vibe change. I have to adjust for this because suddenly there's happiness again. So yeah, we are back on track. It seems. Let's hope this good news streak continues. But for now, Sawyer, 36 minutes from now, do you mind giving us a quick overview? What are the goals of the Axiom launch? What is this mission that we are about to see potentially launch in 36 minutes all about? Where are they going and what will they conduct?
I'm glad you asked. I was just wondering to talk about that. So, the goal of the mission is science. This is a science-oriented mission. It is a private mission that will be spending up to 2 weeks for the International Space Station. There are, for a record for Axiom, 60 different scientific studies with 31 different countries involved. In addition to the 4 countries represented by the crew, there are also experiments from Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Nigeria, and UAE. So just to talk about some of the fun ones that I found when I was researching the mission earlier, there is one that's going to be studying blood glucose levels in astronauts to see if people who are diabetic can have short-term stays in space. There's one with NASA and ISRO that's going to be looking at the ability for muscles to repair themselves in orbit, and if so, if that can be used to help with age-related muscle loss and other muscle diseases down here on Earth. There's ones they'll be looking at cancer cells to see how they react in space, and again, if any of these changes to these different medications, these different drugs, how they act in orbit, and if that's something they can use back on Earth. They'll be testing wearables like smartwatches to see how effective they are. One of the big issues is eyesight. So they're going to be checking this really cool experiment from Hunor, which is basically going to be using these contact lenses with a special material on them that will be used to see if it can prevent changing shapes in the eyes of the crew. While they won't actually be wearing the ones with the ingredients, that will just be tested without the person, they will have regular eye inserts that they would still be testing without the special chemicals on it. And I just found out, Julia handed me this, apparently they will have a champagne bottle for the first time flying into space on Axiom 4, Mum Cordon Rouge Stellar Champagne. So we may see the first ever champagne bottle popped in orbit.
I cannot even properly pop a champagne bottle on Earth without making a mess. I cannot imagine how it will be in space. So that's my initial reaction.
In addition to the series, and if anyone out there is a ham radio operator, the crew will be doing ham radio calls down to anybody on the ground. So they are, I believe it's K2 ISS. Or K1 ISS is their call sign, but yeah, they'll be doing ham radio calls down to the Earth as well.
There we go. And with that, 33 minutes to go, and we just heard the call out a bit earlier. Falcon 9 is in prop load, and we should just be seconds away from seeing a frost ring appear on that beautiful rocket while it is being loaded. Although this is a very new vehicle, so it will be a bit harder to spot than usual, because it's still...
we have this closer view, though.
True. I'm staring at it, but it should be like seconds away. Like it's super fast forming.
Yeah, about a minute or so from now. Because I was thinking, it is true that when they launch a rather new booster, it's harder to see. But this time around, we have these close-up views from the fiber feed, so that sort of helps compensate.
It's appearing on the logs tank, right? Like on the because I think I already see something. Like it's
should be rather soon.
Yeah, I think it's already starting. You can already see some discoloration.
There we go. You can now see even the condensation.
A little bit of frost from here.
Yep, it is happening. Axiom is in prop load. Axiom 4, I should be saying. And with that, we are 32 minutes away from launch, and Falcon 9 will now undergo some steps in preparation for launch. Alex, do you mind giving us just a quick overview? What will Falcon 9 now do in the next 32 minutes?
Well, right now they are doing that propellant load. First stage getting liquid oxygen and RP1 kerosene. Second stage also getting that kerosene as well for the fuel. That kerosene load will last for another 10 more minutes, roughly T-minus 20, 21 minutes or so into the count, and then it'll wrap up on that second stage. We'll see the LOX chill down vent, that T-minus 20-minute vent that we always talk about. It'll be in preparation for the liquid oxygen load on the second stage, T-minus 16 minutes in the count. It's pretty much just about loading propellant from here on, if you can think about that, where, you know, they just load all of the propellants. They will also do, as we were talking way earlier in the count, you know, these things of, you know, loading cryohelium. So we may hear as well some of those callouts as well. They're going to be probably testing as well the POGO system on the first and second stages. So we may hear also the callouts about POGO and things like that. That's the sort of system that they have to avoid those oscillations in the vertical direction, you know, across the vehicle as it lifts off and everything, and it flies through the atmosphere. And so there's going to be a lot of those checkouts as we proceed here into the count, and as they load the propellant much closer to the liftoff, they have all of those closeouts of, you know, propellant load and everything. We'll talk about that when we get there, though.
There we go. Thank you for that. And yeah, it's 30 minutes from now. You can see Falcon 9 now being frosty and forming condensation as very, very, very...
See, there's the cryohelium.
And cryohelium, of course, mostly used to repressure the tanks, correct, Alex?
Yeah, that is very cold helium. It's so cold that it's pretty much liquid helium. Like, that's how cold it is. It is loaded on Falcon 9. That goes into the liquid oxygen tanks. That's where they have those COPVs, those composite overwrap pressure vessels, stored there on the liquid oxygen tank. And so what they do is that helium, during flight, it is sort of routed to the engines. There's this thing that is called a gas generator. It's sort of like a small rocket on the rocket engine. It's like a small rocket engine on the rocket engine, I guess, should be the wording there. And so what they do is they use like loops around the gas generator exhaust to sort of heat up the helium. That helium is heated up and then put back on the tanks to be able to pressurize those tanks for flight as they go through the atmosphere. But yeah.
Here we go. And of course, plenty of commodities on this Falcon 9 that will be loaded over the next few minutes from now. And go through this auto sequence. Sawyer, let's talk about this word auto sequence, because I think it's we always throw it around, but it's actually quite meaningful. How does a countdown like this actually work? Like, is somebody at SpaceX turning a lever and fueling the tanks with that?
No, yeah, it is an automated launch sequence. So as they go through, there is computers on board that will take care of all of the necessary procedures. They continue with the timeline, whereas the people who are over in SpaceX mission control and launch control in Hawthorne and at Hangar X here at the Kennedy Space Center, they're continuing to watch and track everything as it goes. So everything in the countdown is completely automated. That's also when we talk about Falcon 9 entering startup, that is when it enters the terminal count and the computer has everything on board. So right now, some of that data, some of those connections, some of those calls are being made through ground umbilicals. At 1 minute, that's when that stops. So that's what you hear for those typical callouts. Even the flight termination system, in the event that it's needed, is no longer a person with a red button. It is an autonomous flight termination system.
In a case of any sort of issue, that flight termination system ignites in sub-seconds and basically will get the astronauts into safety. That's the mechanism there, and of course that system has been tested in the past, including in the in-flight abort, and that's why that system is needed to be armed at this point, because there's active propellants below these astronauts right now.
Should we do the little thing of, like, you know, the different abort modes? Because that's one of the things we may hear during the ascent.
Oh, absolutely. Go for it, Alex.
Yeah, so, like, you know, for people that may not be aware or haven't seen any other Crew Dragon mission before, this is probably something that you may want to hear, because as Dragon and Falcon 9 lift off and go through the atmosphere and get into orbit and whatnot, you may hear some callouts every now and then, saying 1 Alpha or 1 Bravo and things like that. Those are the different abort modes. They're going to be calling out those as they go through the flight. So right after liftoff or right on the pad, essentially, as the engines ignite and lift off, that's going to be 1 Alpha. That's the sort of, it's low on the ground, it's near zero velocity, zero altitude. So that's sort of the mode of sort of abort mode that they have. 1 Bravo is a little bit higher up, past max Q, for example, where it's already with a different altitude and higher velocity as well. Then when they move on to the second stage, they have 2 Alpha, 2 Bravo, and I think they have also 2 Charlie, and then they start having those abort zones. These are sort of different abort modes because it depends on where they're going to be ending up. And so one of the abort modes near the end, for example, you may hear Shannon. And although they do have a Dragon recovery vessel called Shannon, it is not referring to that. It is referring to an abort zone off the coast of Ireland near Shannon, essentially. So that's sort of one of the last abort modes. And after that, if something were to happen with the second stage, say an underperformance or something, they would be able to go into orbit on their own just with the Dragon. It will be like an abort to orbit sort of thing if that were to happen. So you don't hear, that kind of call out. They will already be, far enough away that they could do that sort of thing. But yeah, you may hear all that during the flight. So be warned. That's what it means.
Start of stage
now
2
know.
cryohelium loading.
There's the other cryohelium, see?
Lots of helium on this vehicle. And 25 minutes from now. So yeah, how's the nerves building up? I mean, it's a crew launch, right?
There's always nerves, and I have to say, I was just talking with Max about this a short while ago. Max Evans, one of the photographers here. I mean, these crew missions, there's always extra nerves because there are people launching, and the time flies pretty quickly, but as soon as you get to these final 30 minutes now, or in this case, even the final 45, as we were waiting for the resolution of the upload issue, the time goes so ridiculously fast. You blink, and it's 24 minutes, 30 seconds to go.
I agree. Like, the first 90 minutes of the stream felt like 90% of the time. Like, it was so much time in the beginning, and everything roughly around like the 1 hour 10 minutes or so mark up until now is just, it's fast paced. It's just rolling through it.
But it's also a unique environment here for this particular launch because it is such an international crew. You have 4 different nations. You have the US, you have India, you have Hungary, you have Poland. So just going into the press building and hearing all the different languages, seeing the interest from so many different countries and so many different nation partners of all of this has been absolutely unique to this mission and so much fun to listen to and watch.
Yes, I agree. It's such an international crew. I mean, we have the return of free space flying nations with India, with Hungary, and with Poland, who had astronauts in the past, but they are now returning after over 20 years of not having an astronaut in space, and also they're going to the ISS for the first time. Correct, sir?
Exactly, yeah. The last time that these countries had any humans in space were 1978, 1980, and 1984. So it has been quite a while with the ISS not being operational until 2000. This will mark their first time there.
Yeah. It's also probably, worth mentioning that the country of India, they're also developing their own sort of human spaceflight program. Sort of this kind of missions gives them the experience, right? Because as you said, it's been a while since they have had anyone up there in space, and so it's usually useful to have this previous experience. They'll be able to have that astronaut up there on the ISS for a few weeks, being able to get that experience before flying more astronauts on the Gaganyaan spacecraft. Hopefully in a couple of years. They're very close.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I have to point out about the Indian space crew, as you pointed out, they have the Gaganyaan program that they're working on. But Shukla was born in 1985 in Uttar Pradesh. The last time that the first time that someone from India was in space was 1984. So he wasn't even alive the last time that an Indian flew in space.
Look at that, yeah. And they're also developing their own station as well. Like I believe they're targeting 2028 for the first module. So like they have all of these goals as well for the next sort of decade or two. Eventually having even a human landing on the moon as well. To I think they're targeting 2040 for that. So they have quite a few high goals there to meet, but that's one of the things that they always try to do, right? They launch missions to Mars, missions to the moon. They've been rather successful at those missions, and now they're trying. They're also trying to get their own human spaceflight program. I think that's really amazing.
Interesting. And we are 21 minutes away here from these 4 people launching into space and to the International Space Station. Sawyer, how long does it take from them launching to reaching the International Space Station?
For this particular flight, it will be just under 30 hours from when they launch to when they actually dock to the ISS, and they will get on board shortly after that. So a little longer than some of the ones we're used to seeing, which are kind of closer to 24 hours, but nowhere near as fast as some of the rapid approaches that we see with Russia. So they'll have 30 hours to rendezvous, so plenty of time. But one thing that it is time for, as you see on your screen, is the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent.
There it is.
Alex, what is that vent all about?
Yeah, they are preparing that strung back, all of those umbilical lines to get ready for the load of liquid oxygen on the second stage. That's what they're doing right now. They're flowing. Complete. And also, they've just wrapped up that kerosene load on the second stage, as we just heard. And so it's sort of like, in about 4 minutes or so, they're going to be loading liquid oxygen. You don't want that cold liquid oxygen as it goes through the line and everything to get thermally shocked, as they call it. And so you just condition that line to prepare for that. And what they're venting right now, for maybe some people are wondering what is that vent. That is gaseous oxygen that is leaving the vent. A lot of the white thing that you see, though, is from the atmosphere, from the humidity, because it's very cold, right? And so the humidity in the air, which there are lots of that in Florida, right? It's getting cold, and so it's sort of it's essentially getting condensed into a cloud. Yeah.
And with 19 minutes to go, we are getting closer and closer to the International Space Station, actually facing over Cape Canaveral, which is, of course, the ISS will basically be a target, and then you'll have the Dragon be a bit of a chaser there, because they will not launch right when it's above it. It will be a bit further downrange, and then they will chase it over 24 hours and then dock with it. So that's how this works. And the ISS is getting very, very close to the Cape at this point.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, it's usually badly portrayed, I will say, probably not in bad faith, but, sort of oversimplification, right? That usually it's like, oh, they launch when the ISS is above. It's not when the ISS is above, it's when the orbit of the ISS is above. And in that orbit, the ISS can really be on the other side of the globe and still be fine. In fact, as you were mentioning, it's about to overfly Florida right now, and it's still 18 minutes to the launch time, right? But the orbit of the ISS is crossing over the launch site in less than 18 minutes from now, and so that's what they're targeting. We have an idea of a video, a concept of a video, potentially coming out sometime. I don't know when, but yeah, I hope soon, about this, about, and that sort of dictates why it is a 30-hour, window to the ISS, when it is 6 hours like the Soyuz, or when it is 3 at some of the other Soyuz as well. It's a little bit, depending on orbital mechanics. But yeah, someone was saying, want to learn orbital mechanics? Play Kerbal Space Program.
Absolutely. With that, just 17. Sawyer, we talked about this earlier, but just as a quick rundown, how did the Russians go to the ISS so fast versus Dragon?
Yeah, so there are very specific tiny windows where you can get a rendezvous that is 6 to 8, sometimes 10 hours. They are very, very rare, and when they do happen, you have one chance to hit it. The Russian Soyuz, I don't want to say is more reliable, but tends to launch through rain, sleet, snow, regardless, so has more chance of reaching it for those. So they tend to be able to hit those super fast windows. NASA, SpaceX, all those companies would
Stage
also
2
rather
launch
take
mode
their
has started.
time, give the astronauts time to get adjusted to microgravity so that they're at their peak when they go for docking as well.
Absolutely. There we go. 16 minutes to go here. Alex, there's a question here about what's the pressure
Dragon
inside the
SpaceX.
Dragon during the...
Count is proceeding nominally, so I have no Dragon or Falcon watch items to update you on. We are looking good for our launch today.
Dragon copies, and we are thrilled.
Nice.
Likewise.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what was the question,
Alex,
Adrian?
what's the pressure inside of Dragon during the flight?
Roughly 1 atmosphere. It's usually that sort of, you know, same as our atmosphere here on Earth. It's not like, you know, some missions way back in the day where, you know, they were like at partial pressure of oxygen or something like that. They just fly with atmospheric pressure and sort of, you know, nitrogen and oxygen levels as you see here on Earth.
Absolutely. And Falcon 9 here. I love always this close-up view because it's so cool to see this Falcon 9 just like venting. And you can also see how there's basically no wind, right, Sawyer?
Oh no, when you saw the 20-minute vent, the cape that was around it, normally you'll see it blowing off to the side or something like that. This was more like a blanket than a cape today. It hugged around it. Also, the air is extremely thick tonight. It is high humidity. You can certainly feel it. But what that also means, besides for being able to see the thick clouds, that typically means that the sound lingers in the air. So hopefully that means you at home watching will be able to hear a beautiful punchy launch.
That is the goal indeed. And yeah, these denser days tend to be very good for audio. So there might be some really, really cool audio we are in for here. Of course, besides that, we are not expecting any like jellyfish or something. It's way too early for that, with just 2 a.m. right now. So that's not gonna happen, but we might get some very clear views of the rocket going up, and then that might produce some spectacular pictures.
That is our plan here in the field. We have Julia, Max, and myself out here with a bunch of different angles that we're attempting.
Absolutely. Thanks all of you for rolling out there like hours ago and getting us ready. And of course we have another launch in just 10 hours from now. That is also planned for the Cape today. So quite a busy day here.
Some people asking for jellyfish today, whether it's going to be a jellyfish. Unfortunately, it's too early for that to happen. If it had happened, you know, maybe like last week or something like that, then the time of launch will have been a little bit later, and then it will have probably been, you know, jellyfish time. But yeah, unfortunately.
And also no moon jelly because it is a new moon.
Yeah.
Moon was so great they made a new one. Can we get a head count for the people on the ISS right now? Oh, I need to actually look this up.
7 people.
So this will bring it up to 11.
Yep. It's rather usually, you know, 7 people, or either 7, 4, or 3, because you either have a Soyuz or and a Dragon, or you have a Dragon only, right? So it's like 7, 4, or 3. Right now, there's both. There's a Crew Dragon, and a Soyuz. So there's 7, and plus the 4 from this one, it's gonna be 11. Yeah.
And on the record, 13, right? Like there was a time where there was 13 at the same time. I think.
That goes back
I
to shuttle.
think so. Yeah, because there were 6 on the ISS, right? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Sawyer.
2 Soyuz and 1 shuttle. Sorry. So yes, that would be 7. I believe that was STS-134 was the last time that record was set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently July 2009. Quick. This is a very quick googling, so I will. But before we go into the crunch time of the countdown, I want to quickly remind you all that we now have the design of phone cases available in the store. So if you go to accessories, you can now see our Dragon, Samsung, and iPhone case, and you can select from all kinds of phones there. So you should find yours, and if you get that, then you can wrap your phone in beautiful Dragon style. And I will absolutely order one of these because my phone is badly damaged and it should have had a case honestly way before this. But you should find your phone there. And of course, prints the best way to support us and also our photographers who get a cut every time a print is sold. We have some beautiful new Atlas prints there. We have Starship prints, of course, with all the details you want. And they are available both as paper prints and also as metal prints. So if you prefer like a solid metal plate on your wall, then go for the metal option. But maybe you prefer a poster, and that's totally fine as well. You can also get that poster on your wall. Thank you so much. And now, with 10 minutes to go, let's focus on Axiom 4 launching. Whew. It's crunch time.
Dragon
Less than
is
10 minutes.
confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
The displays are configured for launch, and the Axiom 4 crew would like to thank the incredible teams that have made this moment possible. To the Axiom Space team, you've poured your hearts into this mission. Your passion and dedication have lifted us higher. We wear this patch with pride because of you. To NASA, thank you for the decades of knowledge, the training, and the trust. You've shaped generations of explorers, and we're honored to carry that legacy forward. To SpaceX, thank you for giving us the wings to fly and the confidence for a safe return home. And to our international partners, thank you for standing with us across borders, united by shared purpose. And to every person behind the scenes, engineers, trainers, families, and friends, you are the quiet force behind this mission. We carry the hopes of many with us. As we realize the return, we will bring those hopes home to you. Thank you.
Peggy, Shukes, Sław, Tibor, from all of us that are staying here on the ground, we look forward to your mission. All the hard work from our teams culminates here, so good luck, enjoy the ride, and science the heck out of all your experiments.
Welcome.
Did you just say science? Did you just say science the heck out of all of your experiments?
They sure did.
Amazing. That's wonderful. 8 minutes to go here. Wonderful, wonderful speech just there. Still no launch vehicle name though, as we have noticed.
I don't think we'll get the capsule name until they're in orbit. Typically, they give a speech once they make it to orbit, and that's usually at least what we saw with Bob and Doug and all of them when they reveal the name. So I'm excited to see what it's going to be.
Yeah, this is getting exciting to finally get to know this capsule name. And again, it will be the last time that a Dragon capsule will be named. After this, the fleet is set, and they will no further build Dragon capsules. Alex, does this include also Cargo Dragon, by the way?
For the stat,
Like, they will not build any Cargo Dragons anymore, right? As well.
yeah, that's one of the things that, you know, from the ISS cargo operations standpoint, they really don't need that many Dragons cargo dragons, right? So they've only built 3 of them.
Absolutely. And at this point, 7 minutes to go, the Merlin engine chill has begun.
Engine chill has started.
Thank you so much for confirming that. And with that, I also want to quickly thank Sawyer here for all the commentary so far. And I will send you off here now to cover this launch with your eyes and camera.
Thank you so much. This is always exciting with crew launches. The anticipation, you could feel it in the air, and not just because of the humidity. I will talk with you all after launch and landing.
Absolutely. So, Alex, just you and me now for 6.5 minutes. We see the clock still ticking down.
Heart racing now.
Stage 1, RP1 load complete.
Yeah. I usually... I got the usual warning from my smartwatch being like, did you try meditation? I'm like, yep, that's crew launch. So yeah, it's happening. 6 minutes from now, Alex, what's engine chill? What are they doing right now with these engines?
Yeah, they're chilling down those turbo pumps on the Merlin engines, getting them ready for operations. In less than 6 minutes from now, there's going to be a lot of liquid oxygen flowing through those pumps on the Merlin engine, so they need those to be conditioned for that very cold liquid oxygen. They're also now preparing for that Stromback retract in about a minute or so. They're also doing all of the final configurations, getting those essentially final checks on the flight termination system, getting things like Dragon going into internal power. That's going to be very soon. That transition. They're going to be doing things like guidance systems being lined up and everything. So lots of different things happening in the last 5 minutes of the count here. So you'll hear many different callouts about those events happening very quickly. So don't be surprised about some of those.
Yep, absolutely.
Tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
There we go.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count.
And that's the other one. Getting prepared that Dragon for heading into the final count, and also transitioning that to internal power as well. We may hear that Stromback retract call out in just a few seconds from now.
You can see that strong right there. And
Stromback retract has started.
There we go.
Should see these clamps opening. Any second now.
We will also hear soon probably the end of liquid oxygen load on the first stage, and then on the second stage as well. Some of the final, there we go. Some of the final TVC checks as well, those gimbaling, they sort of wiggle a bit, the engines on the first and second stage as well, trying to make sure that works. Look at that.
And wonderful.
I see some of the Starship hardware in the background.
Oh, true.
Interesting to see.
Nothing new though there, I think.
There's a few things that are new to me, but it's not the point of this live stream now. But there we go.
SPU
That's the
on Monday.
Yep. Starbase update next week.
3 minutes, 15 seconds. As this Falcon 9 is about to wrap up everything in terms of propellant loading. And then it's just a matter of conditioning and final steps before launch.
Stage 1, lock load complete.
Here we
There we go. That's stage 1 wrapping up.
Heading into the final minute, we will also have, Falcon 9 in startup at T-1 minute. That's when the onboard computers take over control of the countdown.
And is on internal power.
There we go.
There we go.
That's really good. Really good.
So that Dragon vehicle is now completely autonomous.
Yep. And they should also be wrapping up that liquid oxygen load on the second stage very shortly. We'll see the comeback of the Stromback vents as well. We'll hear those gas closeouts as well on the callouts. And hopefully...
The purge of the Stromback to not ignite your Stromback.
Exactly. And hopefully, roughly 45 seconds before the launch, we'll have that go from the launch director and also from the crew, because this time around, there's crew on board. It's not a Starlink or anything, right? It's a Crew Dragon. There's people on board, so they'll be able to also give their
Stage 2,
final
lock
go.
load complete.
There we go.
And with that, it's just a matter of the final steps here.
Dragon
Again,
auto
40
idle.
seconds.
There we go.
40
Auto idle.
seconds from now, the Falcon 9 will take over the launch countdown. And then it's just on the launch vehicle
Gas
to
closeout
execute the
has
mission.
started. Expect loud venting.
There it is.
$15 seconds to auto sequence. To start up, actually.
Yep. They'll say something like Falcon 9 is in startup, Dragon is in countdown. It's usually the call out.
FTS is armed, Falcon 9 is in startup, and is now controlling.
Dragon is in countdown.
There we go.
There they are.
As predicted, and we are now getting standby for the go for launch, which
Dragon,
should be any second now.
SpaceX, go for launch.
Ax-4 is go for launch.
And that is everything. Everything is good to go. 30 seconds from now, you will see at the bottom of the Falcon 9 a green flash that will ignite the 9 Merlin engines. And from there on out, it's flight time.
15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go
Stage 1
Axiom,
Alpha.
go SpaceX.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Power and telemetry nominal. Stage 1 throttle down.
Max Q. Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
Invac chill underway.
Here we go. Falcon 9 performing so far what looks to be a perfect ascent for the Axiom 4 mission. And we have about a minute left in first stage flight.
So far, so good.
Yep, you can now see the plume expansion. The rocket is going through the less dense part of the atmosphere. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember that this one is a return to launch site landing for the booster. So at main engine cutoff, the 2 stages will separate. The second stage will ignite its Merlin vacuum engine. But also, the first stage will flip back and start its boost back burn. So watch out for that in just a few seconds from now.
Beautiful plume there.
Wow, the blue.
And there's
There
the
we go.
stage shutdown.
Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 1 boost back startup. Invac ignition.
Oh,
There's
look
the
at
boost
that.
back.
the Falcon Nebula. Look at that.
That's beautiful. See both stages
Stage
there?
2 Alpha.
Copy 2 Alpha.
That's one of the abort modes. That's fine. That's normal.
And they
But
just
look at
call
that.
out what would be the abort mode as of this moment.
Yep. That was cool.
Yep, that interaction between the two plumes looked amazing.
First stage still returning. There we can see that boost back burn still ongoing, but should be shutting down very soon.
Shut down.
There's the call out.
And next up will be the entry burn, which will slow down the Falcon 9.
Another call out that we may hear every now and then, about 1 minute intervals. Should be coming up soon, the first one. I'm gonna wait for that.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
There it is.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
And so from now on until they reach orbit, they're gonna be doing these call outs every minute, essentially.
And that's what we want to hear. That means everything is good and normal.
Mm-hmm. Nice, look at that.
Wonderful.
Powering their way to orbit. They probably got a little taste of 0G during that stage separation, right? As the engine shut down and then they switched to the Merlin vacuum engine.
Yeah, now they're
But
pulling
they're-
about, what, 2 Gs?
Yeah, they're going to be building up. One of the good things of that MVAC engine is that it throttles down, so they can keep those Gs. I think to a limit of 3.5. They limit down, so they'll be able to not be super stressed. But that only happens towards the end of the burn, so we're still early in that burn. Right now, will be as you said, probably around
Dragon,
2 Gs
SpaceX,
or something like
nominal trajectory.
Dragon copies,
There's
nominal
the-
trajectory.
that. There's that second call out.
Once every minute, like clockwork.
Yep, and they do that to keep the crew aware, right? Like we were seeing earlier before the launch when they said gas closeouts, expect loud venting and things like that. They keep the crew alert so that they are not, unaware of what is going on, or if something were to go wrong, they at least know that what they just heard or what they just felt, it was not nominal because they were not aware of that, right?
And SpaceX, of course, has quite an experience at this point with launching crew, especially also more like first spaceflight crews. And they work a lot on the astronaut experience and making sure they understand and they know and they get the proper data they need. That's
Dragon,
at least
SpaceX,
what I gather
nominal
from.
trajectory.
There it
This is
is.
the third one.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
And coming up is the entry burn of the first stage, which will be booster 1094 with the second entry burn of its career.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And again, this one will land on LZ1. And
Ooh, look at
there
that.
it is.
Ground views of the entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn
There's-
shutdown.
There's that
There's a Falcon
shutdown.
9 in here.
Somebody asked, during ascent, we saw a few flames going up. The rocket, roughly around the time of max Q, that's normal. That's essentially sort of back pressure from going too fast through the atmosphere, essentially. It sort of pulls like a little bit of a vacuum, so some of the flames travel up a little bit,
Dragon,
sort of
SpaceX,
around the landing
nominal
legs.
trajectory.
Nice.
Here we
Stage
go.
1 FTS has
Dragon
safe.
copies, nominal trajectory.
But yeah, that sort of effect is normal. If you go watch, for example, a
Stage
Saturn
1
V
transmog.
launch, it's even more dramatic.
And at this point, we are approaching the landing burn. So about 4 kilometers on the journey of B1094.
Second time. There we go.
There it is. Like a small star landing.
131 landing burn. And
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Touchdown! B1094 for a second time. lands, at this time on LZ1.
Did I hear the sonic booms? Or was it just me?
Think we might have heard them. We'll get them on the replays. And just a few more seconds away here from Seco 1.
Stage 2.
Probably hear
guidance.
Nice.
Can now see them traveling about 23,000 kilometers an hour. Quite fast.
Yep. You can see there the G-force 4.
Yeah.
SpaceX Dragon, Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
There we go. Final abort zone. If they were to abort, but obviously very close now to second engine cut off.
You can see it throttling.
And vac shutdown.
And shut down. G-force to 0, and they are in 0G.
SpaceX Dragon. We have a nominal orbit insertion.
Nice.
There we go.
Nominal orbital insertion, SpaceX, and we had an incredible ride uphill, and now we like to set our course for the International Space Station aboard the newest member of the Dragon fleet, our spacecraft named Grace. Grace is more than a name. It reflects the elegance with which we move through space against the backdrop of Earth. It speaks to the refinement of our mission, the harmony of science and spirit, and the unmerited favor we carry with humility. Grace reminds us that spaceflight is not just a feat of engineering, but an act of goodwill. The benefit of every human, everywhere. Over to you, Shucks.
Launch escape system disarmed.
Water ride. नमस्कार मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, वाटर राइड 41 साल बाद हम वापस अंतरिक्ष में पहुंच गए हैं और कमाल की राइड थी। इस समय हम 7.5 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड की रफ्तार से पृथ्वी के चारों तरफ घूम रहे हैं और मेरे कंधे पे मेरे साथ मेरा तिरंगा है जो मुझे बता रहा है कि नहीं हूँ, मैं आप सबके साथ हूँ। ये मेरी इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन तक की जर्नी की शुरुआत नहीं है, ये भारत के ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की शुरुआत है और मैं चाहता हूं कि आप सभी देशवासी इस यात्रा का हिस्सा बने। आपका भी सीना गर्व से चौड़ा होना चाहिए, आप भी उतना ही एक्साइटमेंट दिखाइए। आइए हम सब मिलकर भारत के इस ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की जर्नी की शुरुआत करें। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, Shucks. Drogie Polki i Polacy, dziś robimy ogromny krok w stronę przyszłości technologicznej Polski. Polski opartej na nauce, wiedzy i wizji. Niech ta misja będzie początkiem epoki, w której nasza odwaga i nieustępliwość kształtują nowoczesną Polskę. Dla nas i dla przyszłych pokoleń. Kosmos zawsze jednoczył ludzi. Zabieram dziś z Ziemi cząstkę każdego z was. Waszej siły, waszej nadziei, waszego zaufania. W kosmosie nie jestem sam. Reprezentuję nas wszystkich. Z całego serca dziękuję wam za zaufanie. Kosmos dla wszystkich. Space for everyone. And with that, over to you, Tibor.
Stanisław, 15 millió magyar emelt ma idáig. Támogatásotok olyan, mint a szürke hamú alatt nyugvó parázs. Belül csendben ízik, de ha fát dobnak rá, egyként lángol. Hálás és büszke vagyok, hogy a hazánkat képviseltem. Családomnak és barátaimnak köszönöm, hogy ti vagytok a legerősebb támaszaim. A ti hangotok hangosabb, mint a rakétánk, erőtök nagyobb, mint a gravitáció. A világűr mindenkié, a Föld pedig egyetlen. Mi a bolygónk 4 különböző pontjáról indultunk, de társakként, barátokként érkeztünk ide. A mi születésünk a tiétek is. Köszönöm mindenkinek szerte a világon, akik hozzájárultak ez a gyönyörű naphoz. Egynek minden nehéz, soknak semmi sem lehetetlen. Go Ax-4!
Beautiful to hear all 4 crew members talk there. And Yeah, we have a name. I think we called it. I think we called it earlier with Grace.
You did, yeah.
I'm happy about this. Sorry, I think we have you back. I will.
Maybe.
I'm not sure if we're sorry back.
I'm back now. Can you hear me now?
Dragon SpaceX.
Hello.
On behalf of the entire SpaceX launch team, thank you. It's been a privilege to work with you so far, and we're excited for you to have a safe flight and a safe return home. Good things come to those who wait. Godspeed to the maiden crew of Grace.
And we thank you all as well.
I think now you can talk, Sawyer. How was that?
Okay. That was absolutely spectacular. I mean, the sound tonight was so punchy. You could really
Dragon
feel it
SpaceX,
with the
we
humidity
appreciate
in the
all of those
air.
words on your maiden voyage of grace and an excellent capsule name. Capsule activation is progressing, so we had a nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts. We are proceeding through nose cone deploy now.
Great copies.
I want to, at this point, also congratulate Next Spaceflight over Wikipedia, because Next Spaceflight already has the capsule as Grace. Wikipedia does not. Just mentioning that.
My spreadsheet is also changed already. Just saying.
So
I'm not advertising it.
Go ahead, Sawyer.
I heard a Quindar tone. I wasn't sure. But yeah, that was absolutely spectacular. Like I was saying, the punch from the sound tonight was unbelievable. You could really feel it. It was such clear skies, and the Falcon Nebula tonight was unbelievable. What a show that booster put on, and what a show that upper stage put on with that in particular. And tonight, the way that the air was, the fact that you could hear an echo of the sonic booms off the VAB. So not a VAB squeal, but a VAB sonic boom echo. Max and I both looked at each other after that, because that was extremely unique.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these replays that are coming, because I think there will be some very punchy ones.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic. I love the name choice here. I really think that's a wonderful addition to the Crew Dragon fleet. So yeah, so far so good. But of course, just the beginning of the journey of Crew Capsule Grace, as they have about 24 more hours of traveling until they are at their International Space Station. So still quite some journey to do here. How does this actually work, Alex? What will they do? Adjust burns and everything? Like, how do they get to the ISS from?
Yeah, right now they are in our orbit lower than the ISS, which means they are orbiting the Earth actually faster than the ISS. So eventually they'll catch up, and what they're going to be doing is sort of raise their orbit little by little, and sort of play catch up with the ISS essentially in the next 30 hours or so. That's sort of how orbital mechanics sort of works here. But yeah, you can see there our first replays of this from Port Canaveral.
Love the reflections there.
Yeah. Some people now mentioning has the Wikipedia article changed. Yeah. Now they do.
So
yeah,
Wikipedia about half the speed of Next Spaceflight.
Yeah, and the zero-G indicator is a swan, right? Oh, there we go. Pad view of the liftoff. Look at that. You can see the crew access arm retracting the whole way.
By the way, so you're pointing out the zero-G indicator is named Joy. It is a swan.
Yeah.
And it's very adorable, I want to add. That's my contribution to this conversation. That camera, by the way, is a bit in a giant cloud right now. There's a bit of a wider shot. You can see the green flash there in bottom just before liftoff. There it is.
There we go.
That's the T-tab. And there it goes. Wonderful launch. I love it. It looked so bright.
There you can see that retraction, and the whole reason why the crew access arm sort of stays halfway in the retraction process is, if they need to evacuate quickly or something, or they need to in any case just exit the vehicle quickly. That's why they have it sort of halfway in between. But when it lifts off, then if it lifts off, you don't need that crew access arm to be there, so you just move it all the way back.
Absolutely. And that camera was adjusted a bit for brightness there. And there's the track.
Is this auto
That's
track?
one of ours.
Or is it a manual track?
Not sure if this is auto track or not. But looks wonderful. Look at. I always love the candle plume of Falcon 9. Just looks so good. And you can now basically start to see the plume expansion a bit. So different how the plume changes over time in the matter of just a few seconds. Beautiful. And there's more.
We heard also earlier, they were talking about, service module checkouts on the Dracos. For example, those are the Draco thrusters that are sort of near the bottom of the Dragon as well. They would have probably already opened the nose cone and everything to get ready for firing the bulkhead Dracos. There we go. Another replay.
I'm just excited right now that they illuminated the whole pad during liftoff, because that makes it easier to spot things for Starship.
Yep. We're already talking about some of those things, like, oh, here's the liquid oxygen, here's the liquid nitrogen, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good that they ignited it. Like, it helps.
Yeah. Good flame trench as well for Starship being dug.
You said that oh, wait, it's not Friday.
It's not Friday, no. We may talk about it on Friday, though. I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, who knows?
You see
I
that
think
flame
there's a good chance we will talk about it.
Yeah, you see that flame on the left? That's normal. That is the T-tab. So the T-tab at liftoff, at ignition on the ground, it is supplied by the ground. So every Merlin is essentially, they have like a manifold that gets the T-tab to each of the Merlin engines, and that is stored on the ground, right? The only time that you see the Merlin engines lit up by the internal stuff on the Falcon 9, it is when it is in the air. So the Merlin engine on the second stage, for example, or the Merlin engines when it is doing the boost back, re-entry, and landing burns, those to get lit up, by the T-tab on board. But when it is on the ground, you use what is on the ground. And so that flare, that burn off that you saw to the left of the screen, it's not that there's a fire on the pan. It's a burn off of the T-tab, the remaining T-tab on the lines that go to the engines. The engines are no longer there, so they need to clear out those lines.
Wonderful. Yeah. The easiest way to clear out the lines is just to burn it off.
Yeah. It burns in contact with oxygen, so just vent it out and it burns off with the air. Oh, I'm seeing already Sawyer dropping some amazing views in the back channel, which... Oh, this one has audio.
And there it goes by.
That was a neat view of the umbilicals sort of being pulled out.
I think this might also have audio in a bit. Yep.
It's coming back. Wait for it.
It's so beautiful.
Just wait till you see the Falcon Nebula that he caught. It is.
It was so amazing. The nebula was insane.
Yeah, tonight with the eyes in particular, it was just. I don't know, it was extra special tonight for some reason. Maybe just because of how clear it was and the extra humidity. Just the way it lit up the sky was so nice.
That also, like, that giant fire streak there.
Yeah, again, the colors this morning was, yeah, money.
I agree.
Yep. Okay. Oh, here we go.
There it is. There comes the interaction. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Does it look like that, like, completely with the naked eye, Sawyer?
It does look like it with the naked eye, yes. It's maybe the colors don't always come across as much because the camera, you can at least get a little bit more depth, but you still see the color, you still see just the interaction with the plume is beyond beautiful. I mean, that was spectacular. I will say, when it came for the landing, obviously we saw the entry burn, but man, that landing happened a little further behind us than we're used to. So it was a little shocked with that, but what a nebula.
Absolutely. Ooh. That was an interesting view. I love that. It's rare that we get these, like, things that we have not seen 1,000 times on Falcon 9 at this point. But I think this is one we should talk about, Sawyer. I mean...
Yeah, speaking of the Falcon Nebula.
I mean, that's just a ridiculous shot. It looks like a galaxy nebula or something.
Yeah, and you wonder why we call it the Falcon Nebula, especially in the stills, you can kind of see why. It looks like there's some kind of nebular thing going on, but it's one of those where if you really look, you can see the two distinct stages in it as well, which I find quite cool. You can always tell there's usually a couple dots of light, one for the booster, one for the second stage continuing. It's a little harder to see in this one, but there are the two yellow dots there in the middle, so you can see them both. It was just, yeah, again, the visuals this evening were spot on.
Yes, we are working on a certain print option of this one. It's getting there, okay, everybody. I see you in chat. I see you. So yeah, that's another shot from Max. I mean, I love the color. It's almost like I if I say copper, people will tell me like, oh, it's not copper. But it looks like copper. So yeah, looks amazing. Love the liftoff shot there.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
I never noticed all the lines going to the lightning pole.
Yeah, I have a question for Sawyer. would you consider the Falcon Nebula fighting fire with fire? Because it's, the Merlin engine exhaust fighting.
I mean, they're kind of fighting each other rather than fighting the atmosphere, but it's still technically fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, right.
Although some
One
of it
engine.
is, how much of it is fire though? How much of it is exhaust plume?
I mean, it's still fire, right? It's the exhaust plume. Come on.
Plumage with fire.
Yeah,
Beautiful
right.
plumage this time of season.
It's 3 engines versus 1 engine, I guess.
But that engine is more optimized to operate in that environment.
True.
There's, I wonder, it's the bigger or the smaller one from the second stage? I think the bigger one is from the first stage, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 dots. The one towards the top is the second stage continuing onward. The one towards the bottom, right at the bottom of the bluish part of the nebula there, that is stage 1.
And I think also the bigger
If you zoom
nebula.
in super close, you can see the outline of it. It's hard to tell on stream, but
I think also in terms of the nebula, the bigger nebula should be from the first stage because it expands more. But I'm not sure. I will be careful with what I say here because people will tell me it's wrong.
let me go back through my photos because I have a whole bunch of the nebula. Let me see if I go backwards if I can make out the exact shadow of which one is which. So stick with it. I'll be back in a sec as I glance through the imagery.
Absolutely. And it looks fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, whew, what a launch, what a visual. And of course,
it was a very graceful launch.
It was a very graceful launch. Haha, you did the pun before Sawyer.
Oh no, wait till you see an upcoming title. The pun has already been made.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I'm on it, don't worry.
I see. I bet you're very proud of that.
You have no idea. And yeah, the topmost dot is stage 2 continuing onward. The other one is stage 1 on its way back.
Siren Fisher already getting it. He already knows what's up.
Here we go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was very worth the wait of what? How long since the first Axiom 4 window? It was worth the wait, but what was also worth the wait is the delivery waiting you will have for this metal print because I mean, we had to do it. We had to do it. That was an easy call. So much interaction of the plumes. I love this. It is available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com now. You can get that and also, of course, support Sawyer with that. And I mean, I will get this. This is going in my living room.
Thank you.
This is absolutely amazing. Thanks for Lindsay for getting it up so fast. And thanks to Sawyer for taking this amazing shot.
That was my goal for this one was let me see what I could do about getting a nebula shot. That was the ultimate goal, and here we go. We got it, finally. I've been chasing this shot for a while.
I would say you succeeded. Wonderful work, Sawyer. Wonderful work.
I was gonna do another pun or joke or whatever about this because it's like there's also because we're talking about a Falcon Nebula and this being Falcon with Grace and things like that. There's a telescope that's gonna be called Nancy Grace Roman, so it's gonna be probably nicknamed the Grace Telescope. So it's like it's gonna look at very lot of nebulas out there, but yeah, it's quite funny the relationship there.
We love double spacecraft names. Please, can we make a rule that spacecrafts are not allowed to be called the same? There's the shot from Sawyer again. It's so beautiful.
Well, except Endeavor was allowed to have 2.
I'm sad that we.
It was more than that. But
Why is there no second Atlantis?
because Endeavor's the best ship, the best command module, the best shuttle, and the best Dragon capsule.
There you go.
Disagree.
I will say though, this is not the first time that Falcon 9 launches anything with a Grace on its name. There was a mission very early on, I think it was in 2018, called Grace by NASA. It was a rideshare mission with Iridium. So yeah. Not the first time, and it wouldn't be also the last time, because I just said, the Nancy Grace Roman telescope, that's going to be launching on Falcon Heavy though, no Falcon 9, but still Falcon related. And I guess in the future,
you were so happy making that joke.
and I guess in the future there's gonna be some astronaut called Grace, right? Probably launching a Falcon.
Has there not been?
Now I need to find it. I need to look up that, because I'm really curious if there's gonna be any future astronaut called Grace launching on Crew Dragon. That will be funny. Launching on Crew Dragon Grace as well.
Yeah. Whew. This was quite a launch. We are back to the Eurobeats. I think DJ KMR is back. Which means I know my cues. I am supposed to thank people now. Starting with Alex. Alex, thank you for being with me here for now almost 4 hours.
Yeah, it's been quite a fun morning here in Europe. I bet it was also very fun there for Sawyer and our field team. Hopefully you all get to have some rest before the Starlink later.
Absolutely. Sawyer, thank you so much for being on today, and also for delivering this amazing print and being a commentary, and all the things you do.
My absolute pleasure. There's nowhere else I'd rather be when there's people launching into space. It's always a treat. I never take it for granted. So thank you everyone for supporting us so that we can come out and do this. What a launch.
I fully agree. In the field, we also had Max Evans, who also did amazing tracking, amazing photography today. Thank you so much, Max. We also in the field had Julia Bergeron, who was also in there tracking, photographing. Make sure to check all their socials. You see their X handle there below, but also make sure to check the NSF X account, and also make sure to check our Facebook or Instagram page, where you will see more shots as they get to them. Carson behind the scenes also today being a live stream operator. We had a huge crew here today making sure this all went flawless. Jay Keegan behind the scenes also as a live stream operator today. Thank you so much for that, Jay. And then of course also we had Kevin Michael Reed behind as a producer. So thank you all so much. My name is Adrian Bile. I was your host for today's mission, and I enjoyed it so much. Thanks you all for watching, and we will see you in about 10 hours from now for Starlink.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up.
Flight downside of speed off. Bring in SPD off.
It's orange!
145! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.